Williams in motion. They'll roll. Daniels out. Down he goes behind the 20. Terrell Bernard with a sack. And number 2 flexes for the camera.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Teague was waiting for it to develop. Wasn't there. Now challenges. Puts it up. Oh, what a shot. Just and under Timmy.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Purdy over the middle. Intercepted. Tejada down the sideline. And pushed out of bounds.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Just a sneak for Prescott, and he's in. Touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Tuesday afternoon. We have Hayden, Emma, and also Jack McKenzie behind the scenes. Say them before we say us. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and David Smoak. We'll have former Baylor football coach Jim Grobe, who walked into an unbelievably difficult situation. He'll join us today live at 4 o'clock. He'll join us, and of course, probably had played a round of golf before he does at, Reynolds Plantation. I spoke on the phone a little bit with Phil Bennett about a couple of different things. He was trying to get a former player of his involved in a high school coaching job, and so he was asking me for a contact number, gave it to him, and then I told him, by the way, we have Jim Grobe on today. And things that he said about Jim Grobe and what Jim dealt with and all of that, we'll have that today at 4 o'clock. Craig's off the radar. Paul's 5 at 5:55, at 4:45 and 5:55. Football with David Helman and John McClain in the 5 o'clock hour. Tony Miles, he's a former star player at Mart. His brother Lee, of course, from Mart, and also played at Baylor. Tony played at Northwest Missouri State, and he is up for the College Football Hall of Fame in Division II. He's on the ballot. He'll join us. He's now a part of the University High staff. He'll join us today at 3:30. So that's what we have for right now. But it looks like it's just a matter of time as the states around the country have the name, image, and likeness law that has been signed into place. And Texas, Paul Catalina, will open up that. Apparently, that will be effective next month.
Yeah, it's amazing when people actually have interest in something, how quickly it can get done. And unlike our power grid, the NIL thing happened pretty damn fast. So, but July 1st, and all the other states are about to do this as well, especially if you have big-time college football in your state. You're not going to just allow it to go. And a rival state, if you're Clemson or South Carolina, you don't want Florida and Alabama to have it because that's where your biggest competition comes from. You don't want Georgia to have it, and you not. So the dominoes are going to start to fall. Florida, California, Texas, the big three all have it, and several others do, and more. I guess Texas is the 6th or 7th state to do it, and it's coming. And the NCAA, still just kind of waiting to see what all 50 states say.
Yeah, they are the 6th state to have this enacted by July 1st, and they are, I believe, the 17th state overall to have some type of legislation. So good for Texas to get their hat in the ring. We've seen how A&M already has launched their whole deal. Everybody's got the cute little name that they're using for their version of name, image, likeness, and how they're going to utilize that. I know Texas had some big thing that they're calling it, and some graphic about how they're ready for it, and A&M did the same thing. And I wonder where Baylor stands on it, because we've talked about it a lot of times with Mac Rhodes, but they didn't have here's our something campaign or whatever like A&M and Texas did. So I think we've all seen this coming for a while now. So if you're in the state of Texas and you aren't prepared for it, I don't know exactly what you've been doing the last few months. So hopefully Baylor's geared up for it and ready for it. And I think it's good that Texas is a box that you can check now.
Does Texas or Baylor have an advantage over TCU or A&M have an advantage, bigger enrollments, bigger schools, bigger alumni base than Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, Houston, or others?
On the surface, you would think maybe, because there would be more opportunities for so-and-so's car dealership or something like that. But I think it's all going to come out in the wash. I think a lot of the name, image, and likeness stuff is going to come from social media. So it's not necessarily even going to come from a local business, because what's going to happen is somebody, I'll just take the name of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence can have 1 million social media followers by the time he's a sophomore in college, and somebody's going to come say, hey, will you say that you like Johnson & Johnson? And here's money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be probably mostly social media driven, which is, kind of the world we're living in now. I wonder, going back to like Big Red Motors in Oklahoma, a company like that would probably be smart to, instead of just paying Rhett Bomar and Adrian Peterson on the low for no work, they can now just have them in their car commercials and they don't have to work at all. So that's a benefit for the athlete, and I guess for the business as well, as you can now do it on the surface and there's no issues with it. But yeah, I don't know which direction this is going to go, but social media will certainly be a big part of it. We saw the company that's coming out where they already inked 5 track and field female athletes, or they've inked 5 female athletes last week, and they're all going to get like $5,000 to $10,000 to just tweet stuff. And I don't know how, I wonder how good of an investment it's going to be for some of these companies. It sounds like, just throw money at these college athletes and have them, put your drink up for a commercial or something. But I don't know how much pull the average college athlete really has outside of the Trevor Lawrences and those types of guys. I'm sorry, but if I randomly saw TJ Franklin on a commercial, I don't know that's making me going to go out and want to buy a car from, some dealership. But if Trevor Lawrence is on a commercial, which we'll see a lot of that here pretty soon because he's in the NFL, maybe that Gatorade commercial does something for somebody. I don't know. It's all new territory. I don't think any of us have a whole grasp of how this is going to be.
Well, let me ask you what I think is an obvious question. What's to keep this from becoming cheating? Because they can now, right?
Well, then it's not cheating. It's only cheating if it's against so.
So in other words, if you're a car dealership and you get, let's for example, use a quarterback from X, Y, and Z, and he does your endorsements and you pay him $10,000 a month, because by the way, those who do endorsements, those whoever the faces are, walk around the lots or whatever, that do the endorsements, they get paid. I used to do some for a car dealership in Longview. I got paid nice money for that.
Yeah, but the guy's already on campus and signed. So, what is it really doing? He's on the team. That's why he's doing the commercial. So that's already out of it. But I know what you're saying is hey, if you come to Tennessee, we'll give you $20,000 and you'll have a car commercial. And no, there's no stopping that. And that's what they've just completely missed the boat on, is how this is going to be abused by various schools. Now, that's what the legislation is for, is to try to curtail some of it. And that's the problem, is the fact that not everybody's on the same page, and why they're asking the government for a bailout, basically. Tell us what to do so that this doesn't become a giant mess, because us handling it on our own, it will become a giant mess.
And one of the things that's going to happen is, all right, I want Hayden Bumpus, star wide receiver from Dallas, Texas, to come to my university. Man, he's a can't-miss guy. I'm going to promise him $25,000 and a car, and he's going to be in my car dealership spots, and everybody's going to know that Hayden Bumpus drives this car from my dealership. Well, what happens when Hayden Bumpus tears his ACL and he's, a 5-star bust? So then there's going to be a lot of money dumped down people who don't really
I'm
matter.
Sure there's some stuff.
And so those are things going to get worked out in the wash, I'm sure. But most of the thing is now, here's what the NCAA, and I hope that they realize with this, all of the stuff that they were worried about, that they spent time policing, all the effort that they put into SMU, all of that, had this been around in 1984 or 85, whenever that was, they wouldn't have had to do all that. Because now all you have to do is make sure you file the proper paperwork that this person has a name, image, and likeness, and this is how much money they got. So essentially, they're making something legal that was illegal for a long time.
Like pot.
Yeah, look, and again, all it would have to do, it could be anybody, you could get any amount of money as long as the booster is comfortable with it, sign the right paperwork, and go, here you go.
Business people are, even the most frothing at the mouth boosters, if they have a business, they can pay whatever, but at the same time, they're good business people because they make decisions that are pretty good, but they have so much money. I don't know how it's going to work. I didn't even think about that. You're right. They're already on campus, so what's the lure unless you promise that before you get on campus?
Yeah, there's going to be people that are dirty and take advantage of it, and those people, go and look in the mirror every day, and then they go in front of a TV camera and they, talk about God a whole bunch, and it's all very fake in some cases. We see that all the time. Hugh Freeze looking at you. So yeah, there's going to be dirty people that do dirty things, and that's their character, and that's not going to be completely flushed out of college football or any avenue really. But with the Texas ruling that's going into effect, you do have to make known what you're making and where it's coming from. And I think there's already been an argument of why they should have to do that to make sure that it's all on the up and up, moron. That's why they would have to do that. But hey, let's eliminate another thing that would potentially, be some accountability. We want to seemingly eliminate that in every way, shape, and form when it comes to the college athlete now. And I've said a long time that, there is some bending that the NCAA needed to do, but there also still needs to be some policing of it. And so, how they walk that tightrope remains to be seen. But in Texas, you're going to have to disclose all of your agreements to that school. So if you're the Texas starting quarterback and the Chevrolet dealership and, Gatorade want to sponsor you, then you have to tell Texas that they're wanting to sponsor you or whatever. You go through those channels. So, yeah, and it will also directly eliminate providing restrict colleges and universities in Texas from directly providing compensation to student athletes. So that's another part of this as well. We'll see. It's very interesting times, though.
All right, so that's what. Now, Paul, help me clarify this. In fact, Daniel just asked me this question. Did you guys see where the UIL will allow web streaming of Friday night football games? This does not apply to over-the-air broadcast. Now, I've been in radio since 1990, and whenever audio streaming was available online, and of course now we're on the app and we're YouTube, whatever, we've had that. Pretty much every year it's ever been available, but last year they changed it. Last year they allowed local TV stations and others to broadcast video from games because a lot of people weren't or couldn't or didn't want to attend football games. Paul, what's the difference?
Well, as long as there wouldn't be a difference. They've allowed online audio streaming forever.
That's what I just said.
So nothing would change there. But if it's video streaming, then they would allow it. So web streaming, I'm guessing that means video, because why would they have to say we're still going to do something we've always allowed to do? I don't know. I think it's splitting hairs to not let local TV stations do it. If you're going to allow web streaming of games with play-by-play and color commentary and sideline reporting like we do, and then you put video on it, what's the difference of it being on a web stream on a school's YouTube channel or a local TV station anymore? I mean, you're really somebody's still going to sit on a chair in their living room and pull it up on a television.
Last year was the exception, though. Last year was the only year they allowed live video to be streamed on a Friday night.
So if they're going to still live video, what's the difference between putting it on YouTube or putting it on KWTX?
Yeah,
you're really splitting hairs.
There's got to be something, because there were thoughts that they weren't going to allow that at all. So we will broadcast on a radio station. We'll also broadcast on all the outlets of SicEm365, but also on YouTube. And so does that mean we could put a camera up in the booth and put it out there and it's not going to be a 3-camera shoot or a 10-camera shoot, but does that allow us to do that?
Well, I mean,
got to get some clarification on that.
Yeah, we do, because we could easily hook into Midway shoots every game and puts it up on the Jumbotron, we could do that.
I don't understand how, if you are in, let's say, what's a smaller town that's got local TV?
Lufkin.
Okay, let's say you're in Lufkin. So the local Channel 9 in Lufkin can't produce and show Lufkin Panther football games on Friday night, which would make all the sense in the world to have the local team on the local station, but they can go and just stream the entire thing and have a whole broadcast on the internet. I'm with Paul. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would you not just allow local TV, if they were into the idea of placing it on their station on Friday nights leading into the 10 o'clock news? That, to me, would be a no-brainer programming decision. And especially in those types of towns. Now, in Dallas, you wouldn't do that, but you could slap them on another Channel 2 or whatever.
To me, it sounds like, those bar specials in college towns back in the day, Smokey, where it's all you can drink for $25 if you bring your own cup, and then if you show up with a different cup, they're going to be like, no, well, not that cup. Like, well, you're splitting hairs. It's a cup.
Well, forever and ever, I did the local games, but we had the tape delay them. We would broadcast the game. We would actually record it. And then at 10:30 on a local station in the Tyler Longview market, we would then replay those games. Got great views. And then they would also replay it again on Saturday mornings. But if it's only online, you're right. You wonder. One of the things that happened here, though, and this is something that for us we could all relate to, when you have, for example, and it's great when they can get access to whoever, but press boxes around a lot of the places in Texas outside of the bigger schools are not equipped to have a radio station that's been doing, let's say, games for Lufkin for 100 years, and a radio station, if they were playing Nacogdoches, has been doing their games for 100 years, and then on top of that, a local television broadcast. Now, sometimes they can make room for that. You could be outside the box, whatever, but that's something that probably wasn't even taken into consideration. But we will have Midway and Connolly football on 2 stations. On ours, 2 different apps as well, 2 different streams, but also 106.7 and 107.9. Now, Michael Johnson has been inducted, or will be, he's been elected to be a part of the Dallas ISD Athletic Hall of Fame, along with Chris Bosh and LaMarcus Aldridge. Of course, Johnson, the Olympic star and Baylor star. I saw that from Joseph Hoyt today with the Dallas Morning News. I think he's probably checked all the boxes like Mike Singletary on the Hall of Fame. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I don't know if there's another one you can get into unless he's not in like the International Olympic Hall of Fame, which I don't know.
Dee Richards, this is a story that was on Twitter at Women's Hoops, is going to join a team in Europe, going to play for USE Basket Empoli. Not sure where that is. I didn't have time to look at that. I saw it at the last second. Italy. It's in Italy. So obviously right now she's with New York.
I'm surprised
in the WNBA.
I'm surprised she's not in Milan, the fashion capital of the world.
I don't know. Tuscany is pretty sweet, though. That's not a bad, I know what you're saying, but Tuscany is not a bad spot.
Trinity Oliver signed with University of Washington. This came down late yesterday. She is now a part of the University of Washington women's basketball program. She was one of those that used the transfer portal after the change in coaching staff from Kim Mulkey to Nikki Collin. And there were some that were already in it, some of them that were thinking about it, and she is one that signed with the University of Washington. Jack, do you have the picture of the thermostat? This is something that you mentioned, by the way, the power grid, right? We all know what happened during the ice age of whenever that was. So this was somebody that put this up on Twitter. This actually came down from some sort of local power distributor. Mm-hmm. Look at the numbers here. Thermostat recommendations when you're at home should be on 78. When you're away, you turn it up to 85. When you're sleeping,
no way.
82 degrees.
Not
Tips
happening.
on conserving. You have to take every one of those. The top number, to me, has to go down at least into 72 or below. The one when I'm away, it's always in the mid to upper 70s because my air conditioner won't kick on. And when I'm sleeping, I'm going down to like hotel room cold.
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you, I had to have my air conditioner fixed 3 weeks ago because it got to 76 in my house at night, and it wouldn't go any lower than that. And part of that might be just because I'm a dainty little flower, but I don't think
what flower would that be?
I don't know. I'm a little dainty sunflower. Those are tall flowers. Never mind. I'm like a dandelion or something. But I don't know. And you know what? Let me tell you about this grid thing. Can I please just go on a little bit of a rant? It's bubbling up inside me.
Okay, you can.
It's bubbling up inside me.
This is not something I planned, and that's good.
No, but I got to tell you. So I've lived in Texas for 16 years. I come from a family of Texans my whole life. I've been fed what is now, I believe, and this is going to get me, I don't care, cancel the crap out of me for this. But this myth of we don't need anybody's help in Texas. We do everything better than everybody else. We're independent. We could do things on our own. Well, the last 6 months, based on our power grid, has shown that it is absolutely a lie.
Yeah, it is.
It's absolutely a lie. I'm tired of hearing it. Fix the damn grid.
But wait a minute. This is the only 6 months in your 17 or 18 years in Texas, right?
Well, no, they pulled the veil's been pulled away.
Okay.
The veil's been pulled away. Oh, hey, it sounds like a great idea. Like that we don't have to rely on anybody else for our power. Hey, that's great. We don't have to do anything from anybody else. But guess what we didn't do? We did not make it better than everybody else's so that we could say, see, this is why. We just half-assed it the whole way, and now we have problems.
Yeah, and we have problems, and I don't know if they're even being addressed because our politicians just lied to us. You know, Greg Abbott said everything was good after the winter storm. Apparently not. Apparently not, Greg, because here we are, and now it's too hot, and now we're having power issues again. Yeah, you're right. Get your S together and fix it. Or someone like me who is very much in the middle on things. I don't claim a political party because I just don't. I don't feel that way about either one of them. But it'll make me turn a certain way. If I can't be cool during the summertime when it's 120 degrees out, are you kidding me? No, I will get off my middle seat and go make a pledge one way or the other because this is ridiculous. This is totally unnecessary. And my whole thought was, you know, we, like the really super confident, over-the-top native Texans that are like, we could survive on our own like Paul's talking about, or we could go to war as a state or whatever. It would take the Chinese 2 seconds to knock the power off in the entire state.
With a click of a button.
2 seconds, and the entire state is shut down. And you're not worried about that? I kind of am. Like, not even just the, you know, normal day-to-day living. I had to sit in my apartment for 2 days while that storm rolled through. And that was life-changing and not in a good way. Like, it was bad. It was really, really difficult being that cold for that long. And I wasn't as cold as long as some other people were, but it was just bad, man. And to think that now we're talking about now it's too hot, like give me a freaking break. Get on the national 15th. Yeah, get on the national grid already. Get your pride out of the way, because sometimes, you know, Texans' pride is the greatest thing of all, but it can also be the downfall as well. And I think, you know, when we're out here, Ted Cruz is popping off and Greg Abbott's popping off about what's happening in California, and they just look like imbeciles because look at us now. We're sitting here 120 degrees outside, and it's like, you can't sleep unless it's 78 degrees or higher. Bull S. I'm not sleeping that hot at night, and there shouldn't be an issue to begin with. So, yeah, get it together and figure it out.
Well,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
I don't know enough about what happened to it or whatever, but I just know this.
Plants were offline. They don't know why they're offline.
That little thermostat recommendation, stupid.
Oh, no, I can.
Just absolutely stupid.
Like, I won't, you know, if I was at home right now, I wouldn't have it cranked down to 72. I'd have it like 75, 76, something like that. But 78 at night, absolutely no way. I'll do my part to an extent, but I'm not sleeping in 80-degree, you know, nighttime temperatures. I'm not doing that.
Well, I don't sleep outside.
I feel guilty for what my thermostat is at night. But I pay the bill. I mean, it's not like I don't pay the bill. It's not like it's 64.
But if if they're sleeping at like 66, you could probably knock that up a couple of notches. I mean, that's like super, super cold for a home. But hey, to each their own. It shouldn't even be an issue. That's the thing. It shouldn't even be an issue.
I don't do 66.
I mean, that'd be pretty crazy. That'd be a high electric bill too. That'd be high.
Yeah, no, you're right. But so that's that's where we are with that. But that graphic right there was something I thought was kind of crazy when I saw the recommendations. I know that some might say you guys have no idea what it's like and you're right, but still,
okay,
I'm not living.
Maybe that's right, but should we have to be worrying about how our thermostats are set right now? Yes or no? No, right? Okay, thank you. So then all the other stuff you could say doesn't matter.
When we come back, Tony Miles, he's a coach at University High, played at Northwest Missouri State. I had somebody reach out to me, and I'm a member of that college football, like we vote for the Hall of Fame. I have not yet turned in my ballot for all the levels yet. And he alerted me, Tony Miles, who played at Mart High School, now at University High, is on the ballot. And he was a part of a couple national championships. And I got to tell you, I didn't realize how great Northwest Missouri State was for a long time. They've won like 6 national titles. He'll join us. Jim Grobe today at 4. Craig's off the radar. David Helman, John McClain, Paul's 5 at 5:55. And this is SicEm365 Radio. I'm not sure whenever the next time you might order pizza, but if it is, think about Marco's. 3 locations in Belmead, China Spring, and in Woodway. In fact, we order pizza on occasion for the studio, and usually it's the same kind of pizza, but on occasion we change it up because there's so many options for pizza at Marco's Pizza. You can go to marcos.com. Bob Mock is the owner of the local stores, and they do a great job of also giving back to the community. And if you are looking here, if you're a high school graduate, you're probably looking at something a little bit different, but if you're looking for a part-time job or a full-time job, job. They're always looking for drivers and looking for those who want to get into management and maybe get into ownership with Marcos.com. Marcos Pizza in China Spring, in Woodway, also in Belmead. When they deliver to us, they're one of the few places that actually knows exactly how to find us because they've been here so much on 101 Elm in the corner of MLK and Elm Avenue. We like the thin crust all-meat pizza. There's a couple of others we get as well at Marcos Pizza in China Spring, Belmead, and Woodway.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Travel is back. Hit the road with big savings during the summer savings event at Richard Carr. The road is waiting. Explore America again in the space, safety, and luxury of a Buick SUV. And during the Richard Carr summer savings event, current Buick or GMC owners get 16% off a new 2021 Buick Encore, 13% on Encore GX, 9% on midsize Buick Envision, or 13% on a full-size Buick Enclave. Summer travel is back, and the summer savings event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Do it today by searching SicEm365 on YouTube.
All right, we'll have Tony Miles here momentarily, now a high school coach at University High and also a former star at Mart, and now on the ballot for college football's Hall of Fame. It's a great story for a local man who's also now affected others with what he is as a coach and player. One note, Cottonwood Creek, who is our sponsor for the U.S. Open coverage this week at Torrey Pines. Rob Bolton will join us tomorrow from the PGA Tour. Tailor-made fitting day at Cottonwood Creek on Thursday, June the 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. By appointment only, you go to TaylorMadeGolf.com. That's Thursday, June 24th at Cottonwood Creek, TaylorMade Fitting Day. We're now joined by Tony Miles, who was an All-American star, national champion at Northwest Missouri State, now at University High, played at Mart High School as well. Tony, when you heard your name was on the ballot for the College Football Hall of Fame, what was your reaction? What does it mean to you?
Well, I was shocked. I mean, so far removed from actually playing the game of football, you tend to almost forget that you actually played. You know, I was shocked. But, you know, I feel like it's a tremendous honor to be, you know, thought of in that manner, because when you play the game, you never sit out to do any of those things, but to be thought of in that manner, I mean, I was quite honored.
When you kind of, I know, and it's been, like you said, it's been a little bit, but when you come out of Mart and you kind of have the build up and the excellence that you guys had at Mart, was it easier to step into the spotlight of college football, even at the smaller level, and play in those bigger stages?
Well, I wouldn't say easy, because, you know, the game gets tougher, you know, because everyone were pretty much standouts on their high school football teams. And, you know, when you go into the college world, it becomes way more of a business. So you have to manage yourself, you know, in a totally different light. But yeah, you know, come from Mart, you know, we only know one way to play, and that's to play hard and fast. And, you know, I took that with me, and it helped me and aided me, you know, throughout my career for the most part.
What's more exhilarating, a big-time touchdown catch or a big-time touchdown run, or housing, you know, one on special teams on punt or kick returns?
Well, special teams, because I think that, you know, on the punt return is the most spectacular play in football, because you have both factions out there. You have the offensive guys out there, defensive guys out there. And it's on the change of possession. I mean, you know, and the whole stadium's watching, man. But when you catch a punt return, you run it all the way back. I mean, your defense just got to stop, and you score based on the defensive play. I think that's the most exciting play in football.
Do you know what the requirements are, the criteria to be a part of this ballot?
I absolutely do not.
Well, there's a lot of them, and a lot of it might be the timeline and how coaches are available and how long someone's been out of the game. But the first and foremost, a player must have received first-team All-American recognition by a selector recognized by the NCAA. In other words, the various All-American teams. And here's to put this in perspective. 5.47 million people have played college football since it began, but only 1,038 have been inducted. And now you're on the ballot, which means you're obviously even a smaller percentage that among that. So now that I've told you that, what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, data. You know, data is data, but you know, I never fathomed, you know, the odds and things to be, you know, nominated or be in this select group. But 5 points, that's a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it feels good. You know, it feels good to be in a select group, and when you put the numbers on it, it makes it feel a little better. But like I say, when you're playing the game of football and you're a college kid and you're going out there and you're just doing something that you love, like you never set out to do these things, and for, you know, honors like this to come, you know, when you're so much removed from actually playing the game of football, it does feel really good. It feels real, real good.
What was it like to win the Grey Cup when you were in Toronto with the Argonauts?
It was a ride, man. The Canadian game is such a fun thing, and it's way more of a game than the NFL because of the business side of the NFL gets real ugly, real fast, you know. But Canadian game, that they rally behind their teams like no other. And I mean, it's the NFL or the CFL, man, and to play that game and how octane it is. You know, you're running around, it feels a little wide, it feels a little longer. You're throwing the ball all over the place, and you got these fanatical fans everywhere. And then it gets cold. It gets cold too. It gets a little cold, man. But you embrace all of that and to go on and you win. You win, the national championship up there with a group of guys. You have, Canadians on one side. I mean, you have Americans. You all mixed together and you playing for the same thing. Man, it was such a tremendous feeling to win a Grey Cup.
How important was that for you, Tony, and others to have that opportunity in the Canadian Football League, to have an option outside of just it's NFL or bust?
Well, I think if you're talented enough to ever be able to play be a professional in anything for the most part, but in a sport where it's such a gladiator sport where, it's such a grueling task, over the years to actually be able to play, and then you have the opportunity to be a professional at it. I think it gives you the another faction to be able to go on and provide for your family. When I played in the CFL, you were basically on a 1-year contract, and it was like a partnership with the NFL. So every year, the NFL teams will call for me to come into camp, but I chose to stay, and the reason why I really chose to stay is because they wouldn't give me enough money in the, in a signing bonus, to come to camp. So if I wouldn't have made the team, I basically would have lost money, and I just, I enjoyed the game, and I just didn't really want to take that risk.
You lost, I believe, in the 2 years at Northwest Missouri State. And I didn't realize how amazing their history was, but you were a part of national championships in back-to-back years. I think you were 29-1. Do you remember the wins, or do you remember the 2 championships, or do you remember the one game you lost? And do you remember which one that was?
I remember the one game we lost. I remember it all. I remember the one game we lost. We lost to Nebraska Omaha, a team that was pretty good. They came in, they beat us. I mean, we went there and they beat us on the first game of the year. It was a torrential downpour. They beat us pretty handily. But, we got a chance to right that wrong because we had to play them the first round of the playoffs. And then we came back and we beat them pretty good. So just to be a part of that ride, because before I got there, they were maybe like 5-6. And, and we put it together right away. When I got, I may have lost 4 or 5 games total my whole time at Northwest. We were pretty dang on good. We had great coaches, and we had, obviously a pretty good team. And, if we weren't as good, I think my statistical numbers would have been a lot better. But I'd rather be good with, statistics the way they are than to be a bad team with, astronomical stats.
When you were at Mart, and I know that there's been a lot in the last several years, the Mart-Crawford rivalry over the years, but there's Riesel because they're right next door, even though you've dominated Riesel. Who was your biggest rival, Pittsburgh State or somebody you played when you were at Mart High School?
Oh, that's a big question. I would have to say Pittsburgh State, to be quite honest. Because playing those guys in high school in Riesel, Riesel actually beat us one year when we were in high school, and they were pretty good. But playing those, we always felt like we were going to beat them. It was a rivalry, but we always felt like we were going to beat them. But to play at Pitt State, and you go there, and you're a true outsider when you go there, and playing in front of those, it was some nasty fans they had, man. And to go there and play and compete. I mean, like whoever won that game was going to win the conference every year. So it was like a conference championship every year. So I would have to say Pittsburgh State.
All right, so now you're on the staff at University High. They've been through that change when it comes to coaching change, and we've had your new coach on. He was great. I know, Tony, you probably have aspirations to want to be a head coach as well. How has the transition been?
I think he's come in, and I think he's done a lot of things, the right way. I think that he's won some people over with the way he's interacted, especially through the social media. He's drawn a lot of people in. He came in so late, so it's kind of hard. He came in late. Spring ball was not far off, and you had to put your system in, and you have to. hit the ground running. Not lack of a better word. You have to hit the ground running, man. And I think when we push through the spring, it seemed like we're headed in the right direction. Now we just got to go and see how the fall shakes out.
Yeah, obviously, I'll talk about Coach Laster. Now, what are you more proud of? The fact you're on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot, or I saw your son on Twitter, and underneath his timeline, he has a 3.8 GPA.
Yeah, man. We're going to try to keep that GPA at 3.8 and see if we can get a little higher. He's a pretty studious guy. And, he was born in Canada, so he's traveled, and then we traveled a little bit. But, when you're a son of someone that a lot of people recognize by face and by name, I don't think it's always that easy to be that guy, But I think he handles everything very well. I mean, he's a high school athlete, and I always preach, and his mom preaches that you got to be a student athlete all the time, and he does a great job of taking care of the student part, and we're very proud of him.
Well, I know you are. Thank you very much, Tony. We appreciate your time. Congratulations on being on the ballot. I will try to sit there. There's 12,000 members of the National Football Foundation who vote. I don't know how many actually do, but I'll try to sit there and maybe do a reply all and say, you better vote for Tony Miles. We need him. All right, man. Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me.
Tony Miles, Mart High School, Northwest Missouri State. They've won like 6 national titles. Are you getting hammered too?
It just went up my nose. A fly just went up my nose.
Well, let's break. Come back. A couple of notes.
I mean, you can. And there's going to be somebody's going to. Bump is going to clip that right now of this fly just flying right up my nose. Oh, my God.
At 4 o'clock, former Baylor head coach, the interim coach, and Jim Grobe.
I think I'm dying.
Want me to keep extending this? Take a break?
Yeah, take a break, please.
This is sick.
That's him. He's trying to come back. He liked it up there.
It got out of your nose.
Yeah.
SicEm365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. How do you do a commercial after that? Well, this is what they do. They do it right. 1943, they launched Pioneer Steel and Pipe, and that family and all the other families that have been attached to it have done nothing but just get bigger, better, faster, stronger, and you have become even more loyal as a customer. You know why? Because they're loyal to you. You know why? Because their product is amazing. Pipe and steel and metal. They help with metal buildings. If you need a contractor, they can help set that up and make sure that doesn't become a nightmare. Whatever you order, it's big, it's bulky, it's heavy, there's a lot of it. They will deliver it to the site, commercial or real estate, and also help unload it. And you go back for more, because that's why and how you stay in business since 1943. Think about that. How many companies that were launched in 1943 are still around? How many companies launched in 1943 locally have been beaten up, and even maybe just taken over by big, huge corporation-type companies? Not Pioneer Steel and Pipe, because they do it right. They've got the great product, and they have great customer service, and they're building a brand new facility at Loop 340 and 12th Street with locations in both Bryan and Waco. Open Saturdays if you can't get there during the week from 8 until noon. It's pioneerboys.com.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
It's an exciting time at Allen Samuels to enjoy the Chrysler Pacifica Minivan Month for the 2021 Chrysler 300 with values up to $5,250 or 0% for 84 months. Check out the 2021 Dodge Charger GT with values up to $4,250 or 0% for 72 months. Allen Samuels, the award-winning customer service Central Texas dealer, located at 201 West Loop 340, online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
Come by, let's be friends.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Saw this number, Jack. Ronaldo breaks a record. Goals record and historic fifth finals appearance. So, Jack, I know you're all into all of that. What's going on right now? I've been watching. You've been watching. We had soccer in the bottoms. What's going on with soccer?
Well, Portugal won today 3-0. Ronaldo scored, and not only did he set the record for, I believe, most goals by any single person at the European Championship finals. The finals is the whole tournament that ESPN's televising right now because the long qualification process to narrow down the teams are a lot of European teams. That's why it's called the finals, even though it's not just the final game. But he is also the first man to ever play in 5 of them. They're played once every 4 years. It's kind of, think like they're the Winter Olympics to the Summer Olympics of the FIFA World Cup. So 2 years after every World Cup, there's a Euro Championship.
Why do they call it the Euro 2020? Because it was delayed last year?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that got me. I thought, like, is this like a story from a year ago? So Does he have more? Who has more international goals? And this is a very random question. Ronaldo or Messi?
Oh, boy. I wouldn't know.
I would think Messi.
Off the top of my head.
Paul?
I would guess Messi. I don't know. I would probably want it to be Messi. I just seem to like him more than Ronaldo. Like, if Ronaldo wasn't a soccer player, I don't think I don't think he'd be a guy you'd like. I think if Messi wasn't a famous soccer player, I think people would like him.
It's Ronaldo.
Yes, okay.
Ronaldo has more international goals, really.
Yep.
I wouldn't have known that. Okay.
Thanks, Bump, on the quick research.
All right, I just had another message that asked me about the UIL decision. A lot of people were interested in this. The UIL games will be allowed to be streamed online. Live streamed online, but no TV broadcast on Friday nights and this is a change that has been coming for years. Last year there was the exception because of COVID, and a lot of people either didn't want to or couldn't, or they weren't allowed to attend the games.
Now, I do feel like this part of the thing is maybe the people who are making the decision are older and don't grasp the whole realm of technology. And I felt this about the UIL even with radio stuff for years, because we've butted heads with some of their kind of arcane rules that they have. But if right now, somebody is sitting in their living room watching us on a television. They're not watching us on a laptop. They have some sort of streaming device hooked in. They're watching us on YouTube right now. That's what's going on. So to me, what's the difference of whether we were on YouTube or we're on KWTX or KCN or something like that carrying a local game? That
I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense to me, other than the fact that maybe they don't want the TV stations to make money on it, or they want to withhold all the rights.
Well,
that would be the only thing that would make
Let me tell you
sense,
something.
but
we did the games for Bosqueville at the state tournament. Lark Smith went down there. $175 fee to do the semifinal. All right? It would have been $200 for the championship. That's fine. We had great sponsors. I'm surprised, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm surprised they have not yet started asking for broadcast fees from radio stations. We do. I think the state championship game, there's one, and that might be more as much because of the press box or wherever, AT&T Stadium, whatever. But let me tell you, if they can find a way to make money, they're like the NCAA. But in this case, you say they're old and I think they've actually gotten young and hipper within the UIL. I really do, compared to what it was like before. They used to be like the NCAA or like maybe Congress, where it's slow. It never changed. They would, no, we're not going to do this. They were never going to allow any kind of like TV or video, broadcast on Friday nights. That's changed quite a bit. But I do think there's a couple of different services that pay them. There's like a Friday night, whatever it is. And so if they're getting money for that, that has something to do with it as well. All right? So that's where we are with that. All right, Paul, when was the last time we talked to Jim Grobe? We had him on early on when we first started. Did we not, Craig? Can you check on that? I think we did, didn't we, Coach Grobe?
Yeah, we had him on pretty early.
Yeah, because he invited you out to play golf when it was
Reynolds
on.
Plantation, and then, of course, the world was shut down. So I'm hoping he does that again, because this time I'm going to say when. Like what time, when do I need to be there, what are the tee times, and what's your handicap? So he'll be on with us just a little bit after 4 o'clock. No Mac Rhodes, not available today. Not sure when we'll get him again as far as this week. Probably not. Maybe start to get that back into flow on Tuesday of next week. Randy Clements, possibly this week. Former Baylor offensive line coach. He was at Ole Miss, basically fired by Lane Kiffin. You know why Lane Kiffin fired him, Paul? Craig?
I'm guessing because Lane Kiffin is a pompous jackass who doesn't like anybody's opinion other than his own. But that's just me spitballing.
Or maybe he doesn't like it when others may get some of the credit.
Like I said, he's a pompous jackass who doesn't like anybody's opinion or glory other than people on his own. That's why Lane Kiffin,
Randy Clements didn't tell me that. That came from somebody that knows the situation, has worked under Lane Kiffin before.
Yeah, well, I can just tell you that, nobody who's had Lane Kiffin leave is like, oh, no, Lane Kiffin's gone. Nobody has. Nobody. Not one person. Not ever. The guy's a jackass.
You've made that clear.
So he acts, he likes that he's a jackass. I'm telling him that if he was on the show right now, I'd say you act like a jackass a lot of the time. You appear to enjoy it.
And so what's your point?
I'm just saying, but when you do that, there are people who aren't jackasses, like Randy Clements, who's a great guy. And when he gets a little bit of credit, then, you're always going to go back to your base nature. And that's what Lane Kiffin did. And there's not many better offensive line coaches in the country than Randy Clements, and a guy who can figure out what your guys do well enough to make your offense work in a rapid amount of time.
Yes, no question. The Cowboys have released the day that they arrive in Oxnard, California for training camp, which this year they'll be that. I don't know the setup. I don't know what we'll be able to do. I don't know about the access. I don't know about anything that comes close to what we've had in the past when it comes to interviews either, but it's July the 20th in Oxnard, California.
I don't think we've had Jim Grobe on. I don't think we've had him on here. I thought it would have been some of the earlier episodes, but I don't believe so. I think this is his first time he's going to be on this show.
Maybe had him on right before we got fired then.
Maybe. I thought we had, but I don't have it, and I Google searched, and there's nothing coming up on any website that has SicEm365 with Jim Grobe, so yeah, unless that just disappeared off the face of the earth. Apparently this will be the first time we're talking to him on these airwaves.
All right, well, I can't wait to talk to him. He's you should hear what Phil Bennett told me. Talk to him a little bit about it. Todd Archer, again, the Cowboys will return to Oxnard starting July 21st. That means they probably land on the 20th. I think, Paul, you mentioned that. Fans will be able to attend practice starting on July 22nd with safety protocol details announced later. Jerry Jones, I view the team's return to Oxnard as a positive sign. The Cowboys and the NFL moving. Okay, well, California today opened up their doors to everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah, they're starting to go back to 100%.
Well, if they do it,
yeah.
Is he up for re-election?
He's getting recalled.
Oh, okay.
I mean, don't pull a Greg Abbott here, though.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah.
And start talking about California. At least they can, keep their ACs on.
Yeah.
So when California starts to open up the doors, that means there might be sunshine at the end of the rainbow, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there'd be either way with or without them, quite frankly. But I mean, if with their pearl clutching, I mean, that's what I would say about California. No disrespect, but they take things a little bit. Well, we have a Californian in here.
No, I'm talking about the whole state, not so much Emma's.
I was talking to Emma. I wasn't talking about the whole state. But, I mean, they do things differently out there. A lot of it I don't agree with. But, there are still, some things to look at and say, hey, we should probably do that a little bit better. But the fact that they are opening up, that's a good sign that, pretty much everybody now at this point has, gotten over the COVID fear and all of those things, because that's what a lot of it was early on, was just fear of the unknown. And I think with more information, just like with anything else, that's why it's so stupid to make matter-of-fact statements one way or the other on anything when you don't have all of the information. And now that we do, I think, we can guide this thing a lot better, and that's what you're seeing happening.
When we come back, Jim Grobe, former Baylor football coach, with us on SicEm365 Radio.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Pump fake from Russell. He's resourceful back there. Look at that athleticism. Speed. Look at him go. Hello, how do you do?
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
He, to me, is someone that even if you give him an amazing amount of respect and adulation and thank you, will never get enough for the role he played with Baylor to replace Art Briles in the interim job at Baylor in 2016. We've had him before. Jim Grobe, former Baylor head coach, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. What did you shoot today? What was your round?
Well, I played with my grandson, and I shot 43, and he let me beat him by a stroke. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
By the way, what is your handicap now, seriously, in golf? Well, you play at Reynolds Plantation. You've invited me there before. One of these days, I'm just going to knock on the front door. But what is your handicap? Is it better now than it was even 2 or 3 years ago?
Well, the invitation's still there, Smokey, but I'll tell you, I'm a 7.4 right now, but I think you still need to give me a couple strokes.
Okay, I will. I just got my update. It's a 6.1, so I will. I'll give you.
Oh, yeah. Good. I like it.
Hey, by the way, Phil Bennett, I spoke with him about something completely different. He happened to call me today about something with a high school coach trying to help him with a job. And I brought up that we had you on today. And I know there were days and times when things were pretty rocky. Do you understand how much Phil Bennett appreciated you?
Well, that goes both ways, David. That guy, I felt so bad for him because he's such a good football coach and a wonderful guy, and we were in such rough times together. But I have total admiration for Phil Bennett and the job that he did, and I've never known anybody that's a better football coach or anybody that works harder than Phil Bennett at getting the kids ready to play.
Coach, this is Paul. I've told people for years the story of your Big 12 media days when you had the job for maybe long enough to get enough polo shirts to take on the trip and had to go to Big 12 media days. And then everyone was kind of coming at you as if you'd been at Baylor for 10 years, and had a lot of the answers to questions. What was that like to have to deal with something when you still hadn't even had opportunities to really know what had gone on or what was going to come in the future?
Well, in the short amount of time that I'd been there, Paul, I'd seen nothing but great kids, great people. I love everything that I, in a short amount of time, had come to know about Baylor was good. And when I got to the media days, it was all about this bad culture at Baylor. And I'd been at Wake Forest, and I thought Wake Forest was a good place to be. And I got to Baylor, and I just saw all the same type things, and I just thought Baylor was a wonderful place. And I get to the media days, and they're talking about this bad culture, and they keep talking about the bad culture, the bad culture, the bad culture. And I finally called them out and said, look, I haven't seen that. That culture that you all are talking about does not exist at Baylor. And so everybody goes absolutely crazy. And I wasn't trying to say that mistakes hadn't been made and some bad things hadn't happened at Baylor, but there was not a culture at Baylor that was bad that I found. And, you're trying to throw a blanket over the whole university and say that everything's bad about Baylor. Well, most of the things that I found at Baylor were fantastic. And so for me, I just ended up from then on having a button heads kind of session with the press every time, because all the things that I was seeing that, of course, they didn't have firsthand knowledge of were good things. I saw all good things about Baylor, and I know there were problems, and I know that some people didn't behave the way they should have, but the majority of the players, the majority of I felt so badly for the parents, and so I ended up in a defensive mode right away because I didn't experience the bad culture that everybody was talking about.
Hey, Coach Craig here. You've been out of the college game since that year at Baylor in 2016, and it's safe to say it's a little bit of a different world in college athletics now, between name, image, likeness, just the way that the season went last year with the COVID-19 causing havoc to schedules and everything. It's just a whole new world out there, the transfer portal. I'm just curious your thoughts on the college game today. Are you glad to not have to be dealing with all these different changes in a way?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I was really glad that I wasn't dealing with the COVID problems that all the coaches were dealing with. I thought that was a nightmare for really everybody. And I thought, my wife Holly, she said, once the season got started and they were trying to play some games, that certainly none of the coaches' jobs would be at risk. And then, a lot of coaches lost their jobs this year in the COVID season, and I thought that was a little bit silly, to be honest. But I do think that was tough, and coaches are dealing with things that I wouldn't want to deal with right now, the transfer portal and all the things that, with the way that things are going as far as, likeness and paying the players and all the kind of things that are going on right now. I will say this, I'm totally in support of student athletes, and I want the kids to be well taken care of. I want them to be able to feel like that they can go to school and play sports and be well taken care of by the universities. But, I started at Ferrum Junior College and I cleaned Garber Hall 15 hours a week. I was on work study. My dad died when I was a junior in high school. And so when I went to Ferrum, I was paying my own way. I was on work study. I was on loans. I was helping clean Garber Hall there at Ferrum for 2 years, 3 or 4 nights a week, and paying my own way to school. When I got a scholarship at the University of Virginia, I thought I died and gone to heaven. Mm-hmm. And so I think a scholarship's a pretty good deal. And somehow we've gotten to the point where we don't feel being on scholarship is worth very much. And I go back to all the kids that are walk-on kids that are paying their own way and playing football just because they love the game. And so I'm coming at it from a different standpoint. I do want to take care of student athletes as much as possible. But I do think that we've kind of lost the focus of being a student athlete right now, and it seems like we're trying to push things on players right now that I'm not sure are going to be great for the game.
Jim, when Grant Taft called you, you've gone over that with us and asked you about Baylor, and you took the job. Was there ever a time, one night, an afternoon, when you woke up in the morning, ever a time where you felt like you'd made a mistake?
Never. It never crossed my mind. What I found, Smokey, when I got there was just this wonderful group of kids and a wonderful university and everybody trying to help as much as they could. And Holly and I had a habit. We'd get up in the morning and we'd walk on campus before I went into work. And we're out on campus at, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and walking around campus and ROTC's out working out and students are jogging on campus that early in the morning, everybody out before classes got started. And we would have students every morning come by and say, God bless you, Coach. Thanks for coming and thanks for your help and all these things. We would go to dinners and we'd get ready to leave the restaurant and students have written a note, Coach, God bless you. Thanks for coming. And they paid for our dinner. And I've never been in an environment like that before. And so as tough as it was trying to deal with the problems with the media and trying to get the team ready to play and trying to get some of the things that had happened behind us so we could get through a season were really challenging. But there was never once that I felt like we weren't doing something good.
How hard was it to hold? Because you had, the first 6 games was business as usual for Baylor as far as the results go. But once you had that first loss, how could you feel that that thread had been pulled and it was going to be hard to kind of reattach everything?
Well, I think that the biggest problem was, and I understood completely. The coaches wanted to support Coach Browse because they felt like that, even though there had been problems, that nobody had intentionally done anything, to end up with the results like they had losing the president, losing, athletic director, losing Coach Browse. And so these guys were upset. I mean, they were very upset. They loved Coach Browse and they were very upset. I understood that. And what my main goal was to try to keep the focus on the players. That we had all these players that had never done anything wrong, and all these parents that were heartbroken about what was happening, with the team and with the school and with their kids. And so I tried to my main goal was get all the coaches to focus just on taking care of the players, coaching them, and putting their arm around them and keeping them going. But as we got a little bit involved in so things outside football, social media and all those kind of things. And it kind of blew up there for a while. We kind of got off track and lost some games. And of course that never helps. But I do think that, we weathered the storm. And by the end of the season, when we got to Boise State in the bowl game, that's when the coaches, I think, had finally figured out, hey, we're not going to be able through social media or whatever means, going to be able to help Coach Browse. And so let's just coach some football. And so the bowl game experience, that time leading up to the bowl game, watching our guys have fun again and just coach football and the players have fun and just play, enjoy practice and enjoy being together. And, having a really good outing against Boise State was really, really special. And I think by the end of the season, even though we'd gone over a lot of hurdles and struggled quite a bit, it was really rewarding for me to see the kids actually smiling again and having fun on the sidelines, and the coaches really enjoying just coaching football again.
And wasn't that also imperative in a lot of ways? One, to try to end it on a good note, also with what you wanted to do, but they also, was there a concern that Boise State, if you went in there with some kind of lackadaisical effort during practice, they could embarrass you?
I think that's what everybody expected, Smokey. I think everybody expected us to get our ears pinned back. But I had a great feeling about it. I never thought that the coaches or the players felt any stress. In fact, it was just the opposite. I think we felt like by the time we got to the end of the season, I thought we played pretty good at West Virginia. It was a nasty night and foggy and rainy and cold. And we had the freshman quarterback. Zach was just starting to get his feet up under him, and I had a feeling that we were starting to improve, and our coaches were kind of focused now on just coaching football, and the kids were focused on playing. And that time leading up to Boise State, I just really felt like we were in a great position because I don't know that Boise State felt this way, but I think most people around the country felt like Boise would wear us out. And I don't think we were more prepared at any time during the season to play a football game than we were for Boise State. And I could just tell that our players were chomping at the bit to play one more game.
And they did.
Yeah, that might have been Zach Smith's, one of his best games just period in college, even with what he did at Tulsa afterward. Katie Cannon had a huge night that night. It was definitely good to see a win. Coach, do you know Dave Aranda at all?
I don't. I've talked to Mac about him. I know when Mac when he hired him, that he thought he had somebody really, really special, somebody that would be a perfect fit at Baylor. And, off to a rocky start. But, Matt Rule got off to a rocky start. I think anytime you bring a new system in and you're trying to get to know the players and what their capabilities are, it's hard to hit the ground running. But I've heard nothing but great things about Dave Aranda, and I've got a feeling that they're going to get things going again here pretty quick.
And when you have to have that system running again and you have to do it all on Zoom, it's near impossible. I mean, you look around the country, Coach, most of the coaches that their first year that didn't really get to know the players or have spring football all struggled at some point because, whether COVID hit them or not, you just had no continuity. And you can't invent a way to do it in 3 months. This is years and years of coaching, right?
Well, one of the great things I've heard about Dave Aranda is that he's got a really close relationship with the players. And with all the stuff that the coaches were trying to do on Zoom and trying to coach, on the computers and all those kind of things, I think I can't even imagine. My favorite thing to do was to interact with the players face to face and put my arm around their neck and hug them and, kick them in the butt if they weren't doing the right things. But, just that personal relationship. And I think, with all the masks and I think that in itself, just wearing a mask while you're coaching or trying to do things, by Zoom and not having that personal touch. If you're a coach that relies on being really close to your players and getting the best out of your players from a personal relationship, what a nightmare that was to not be able to do that.
Craig mentioned the Boise State game with Zach Smith, but Katie Cannon had a monster game. But there was a time during the season, Coach Browse was not just a coach to him, but like some players, even you've had players, it was almost like his father. And he was, at some times, a little bit difficult. And I'll share this story. Phil Bennett said that it was time for him to be disciplined. And Coach Bennett, walked into an offensive staff meeting and said, we're not taking him to Ames or we're not playing him against Iowa State. And that was a decision you had made as well. How much did that mean to you, and how hard is that when you have to do that?
Well, really and truly, you look at least I did. I looked at the players like they were my own sons. I have two boys, and they're grown now. But I looked at the players exactly as if they were my own sons. And at some point, even though it breaks your heart to do it, you have to let them know that their behavior and their attitude, and what you're trying to do is get them ready for life. You're not just trying to win a football game at all costs. And so sometimes you have to make those hard decisions, and you try the best you can to get the guys going in the right direction. And if they just won't go in the right direction, you have to let them know that football is not more important than them personally. And I think that's the message you send, and you send that to the entire team, that hey, if you don't do the right things on and off the field, then football may not be a possibility, and you don't ever want to do that. But at the same time, you kind of feel good about doing those things, especially when you see at the end of the year that the guys come around and finally kind of get it.
Yeah, you won that game, by the way, in Ames, 45-42, rushed for like 800 yards in that game. Paul, Jim Grobe with us, Craig Smoak, David Smoak on SicEm365 Radio. Jim, I hope you don't take this question wrong, but you had a successful career. What you did at Wake Forest and what you've done, there's a reason why that people knew you even well before you took over the job at Baylor. But do you feel like maybe some thought of you as a babysitter and did not legitimize you enough as a coach that year?
Well, I really didn't care about that. One of the things that I wanted to do when I came to Baylor, and Mac told me, and at the time Ian McCall was the athletic director, and Ian told me the same thing, and that if I got there and felt like I needed to bring people in and make changes, that I had the ability to do that. But I had a group of coaches that I assumed, and I had to do this because nobody had charged them with doing anything wrong. I had to realize that these are husbands and dads. They have families.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are counting on an income, this is their livelihood. So what my only goal when I got there, as far as the coaching staff was concerned, was that unless anybody came to me and had, proof and knew that these coaches had not done what they were supposed to do, I was going to take these coaches and let them try to keep Coach Browse's system intact, because my number one thought there was I wanted to take care of the players, and the way to take care of the players was try to keep things as consistent as possible. I mean, they've done great things when Coach Browse was there on the football field, and if I could keep things as consistent as possible, and that's keeping the coaches together and trying to let them do their thing. And honestly, there were some things, I got to be as totally honest with you as I can, there were some things there that I didn't agree with, the way we treated the players. As far as, discipline and practices, I thought offensively we were a little, laissez-faire kind of, in practice, where the defensive, Phil really worked those defensive kids really, really hard every day. And I thought at times offensively we weren't as disciplined as we needed to be offensively. But I thought Kendall Browse was one of the best coaches I've ever been around. I thought at times we needed to kind of crack the whip and work these guys a little harder on offense. But at the same time, they'd been so successful in the past, I wasn't going to step in and change a lot of things because the players had gotten used to being coached this way. So I think, maybe you could say I was a little bit of a babysitter, but my number one goal was to try to make sure that the players, they were getting beat up enough by the press. And I felt like that the best way for me to help these players was to try to keep things as status quo as possible. And even though I saw some things that I said, hey, I wouldn't do it that way, at the same time, I felt like for the players, the best thing to do was try to keep things sailing smooth.
I would think that with that staff, and some of them have told me this, that they're pretty much everybody at some point probably had an explosive moment, because we're talking about how personal it became. You're talking about a son-in-law, among others. How did you, it took a special man, and I say that to you, it took a special man to juggle all of that, because you understood what they were going through, what you were trying to do for the players, what you saw yourself and not what people told you. Where did that come from in you growing up? You mentioned your father passed away when you were younger. Where did that come in Jim Grobe, that you became that kind of person?
Well, I think more than anything, Smokey, it's having coached for so long. If you've been around long enough, I've seen coaches that I thought were way too tough on kids and way too tough on the staff, and I've seen coaches that don't care if it snows eggs. So there's somewhere in the middle of that where you can be too soft or you can be too tough, and I've always been kind of a middle-of-the-road guy. And there were times with our coaches where we got nose to nose and disagreed, and then there were times where I had to just kind of put my arms around them and understand that, hey, these guys are really struggling right now. And so there were some rocky times and there were some good times, but more than anything, I really felt like these were guys that thought that they had done things the right way, and obviously at times they didn't. But I thought all of these guys needed to be accepted and kind of. I kind of want to put my arms around them and say, I understand what you're going through, but let's put all of our attention on the players and take care of these players and try to focus on them. And for the most part, we did. There were times when we got sideways a little bit, and like I said, it wasn't all smooth sailing, but I really felt like that these guys were struggling and they needed my help more than me trying to, jump down their throat every day.
Do you sometimes wonder that, and there was a distraction that came right on the eve of you playing in Austin against Texas that blew things up a little bit, and you still had the lead against Texas late in the game and had a couple of opportunities to step on their neck. There was a hasty fumble. Seth tripped up going into the end zone. Do you sometimes wonder how long that unbeaten season could have continued had you won that game at Austin?
That's one of my toughest losses as a coach. And as I said, there were some things that I would have done differently as a coach, but I tried to keep things status quo as much as possible. And that was a week that we let slip away. I mean, that's a time where we really and truly could have won a game had we been more focused. I felt like that, of all the tough losses that I've had in my career, I thought the loss at Texas was probably the toughest one I've had.
Jim Grobe with us, former Baylor coach on SicEm365 Radio. Paul?
Coach, how many players from Baylor do you speak with just semi-regularly?
Well, I talked with some of the guys, back when I first left. Some of the guys were talking about transferring. They just felt like they wanted to get a new start. And a couple of players, really good players that called me and wanted my advice. And of course, at that time, all I cared about was the players' well-being. And I encouraged them to stay at Baylor. I told them, I said, there's no better place for you to be. And Matt Rule had a great reputation coming in. I thought Matt was going to do a great job. I think he had a great staff. And some of these guys were kind of star players that, were thinking about leaving. And so, that's the kind of discussions we had. Should I stay? Should I go? All of them ended up staying. I asked all of them, how many friends do you have on the football team? And they were friends with everybody on the football team. I said, well, why would you go start all over again trying to make friends and fit in when you're already fitting? And they were worried about the coaching staff. Mm-hmm. And I promised them that Matt Rule would come in and do a great job, and he did that. And they ended up staying, and I felt really good about that for them and for Baylor. I haven't had a lot of contact with them lately, but most of my guys are gone. I came back, and I've tried to come back every year, and Mac Rhodes has been wonderful to me. Every time I've come back, he's gone overboard to make me feel welcome. And, at that, I saw some kids in the lobby. I stayed at the same hotel the kids were at. And now all those guys have moved on and done other things, so those guys are gone now. But not a lot of contact with the guys right now. I'm always available. I have kids from time to time will call me, and they have job opportunities and need recommendations, things like that. And I do that all the time.
Phil Bennett had been talking to Baylor about the head coaching job when there was the transition. He didn't want it because they also wanted him to do some things and may have even asked you to do some things as well. And when Grant Teaff called him, apparently Phil Bennett told me he had visited Wake Forest at some point. And I don't know where he was at the time, but he had visited the campus. I believe you might have been there. I don't know. But he kind of loved what he saw. And so when your name was brought up by Grant Teaff, what do you think about Jim Grobe? Coach Bennett says his quote was, he's the guy, he can do it. Did he ever share that with you?
Well, yeah, and Coach Teaff shared that with me. And, the thing I felt so bad about was Phil would have been a wonderful guy to be the coach. I mean, he would have been a wonderful hit. He did a great job at SMU, did a wonderful job at SMU. And I thought that I felt bad for Phil because he really and truly, had they named him the head coach, would have done a wonderful job. The problem was he was tied to Art. And had you named one of the assistants, I think the problems would have been multiplied because, now you're trying to support Coach Browse, and everybody says, well, yeah, no wonder you're going to support Coach Browse. You're Art Browse guy. So I felt like it was a situation where Phil would have done a wonderful job. There's nobody I respect more in coaching or as a man than Phil Bennett. But I do think it would have been really tough on Baylor to promote from within when supposedly the problems were with Art Browse and his staff. So I thought that would have been really tough, but I felt so bad because I know Phil Bennett would have done a great job with that football team, probably better than I did. But the environment, it's very similar to me fighting the press all year long. And I shouldn't say fight, but defending the things that I found that were good at Baylor, trying to defend those things on a regular basis. When Mac Rhodes got the job, let me tell you, there's nobody I respect more in athletics than Mac Rhodes. I think he's as good as it gets. And when he came in as the athletic director, I was absolutely sick that I couldn't stay on at Baylor because I thought Mike Brown would be the most wonderful guy to work for. I would have given anything to stay with Mike, but I told Mike, you need a clean slate. I've been defending Baylor for a whole season and trying to stand up for all the good things about Baylor, and it would be best in Baylor's best interest to have somebody come in fresh like Matt Rule. I talked to Matt Rule for a long time before he actually visited and decided to take the job, and I told him, there's not anything that I didn't like about Baylor. And so I was so tickled when Matt took the job, but I felt like that they needed a fresh start. They needed to get everything behind them. And, of course, Matt was able to do that because he came in and had great discipline with the players and great reputation, great respect, and did all the good things. But I couldn't tell you, I can't say anything. I can't speak highly enough about Mike Rhodes and the job that he's done.
You mentioned that you were kind of almost not influenced, but there was a chance that there were maybe some pressure that some of the staff had to go. Was there ever an ultimatum and you just said no?
No, there never was. And I think mainly, Smokey, because nobody had come out with any individual coach and said, this guy's violated rules, this guy's circumvented the university, this guy has done things that he shouldn't do. It was never brought up about any coach. And when I went in there, I was very honest in that if I found wrongdoing, those coaches would be gone. Mm-hmm. I had no problems doing that. Honestly, it would have been easier for me to go in and just bring a whole staff with me. I mean, that would have been the easiest thing to do. People that knew me, people that would that I was associated with, that I knew were great coaches and great people. That would have made my job so much easier. But that wouldn't have been better for the players. And I felt like, especially if I was just going to be there to get Baylor through a season, the best thing I could do was go in there and have an open mind, try to take the coaches that had not been accused of wrongdoing, try to take those guys and mold that staff together to help the players. And then if I found wrongdoing, I had no problems making changes. But the whole time I was there, nobody ever accused any individual coach of wrongdoing.
Here's one final quote, Jim, and we can't thank you enough for being a part of it. What he inherited was a bunch of butthurt coaches. He handled it like no other. I will go to my grave what he did for me and what he did for Baylor in the 1 year he was there. And that was about Jim Grobe.
Well, I got to tell you that one of my great experiences in coaching, Smokey, was to be at Baylor and to help those kids and help those coaches, and not only the coaches and the players, but the parents of those kids and Baylor University get through that season. And so as tough as that was, it really probably, I've told Holly this before, but even though we went through a lot of tough times, I don't think I've ever had a more rewarding year in my whole coaching career than the year that I spent at Baylor. It wasn't easy. It was tough. My relationship with Mike Rhodes was fabulous. We immediately connected, and we worked together to get through that season. But it was probably the most rewarding year I've ever spent in coaching. And the people, that J-Mo was great. John Morris helped me through that season with doing the games, and our nights at the barbecue place were really good. He did a great job. My relationship with Mike Sims, our trainer, was fantastic. I mean, I just go through all the wonderful people. Carly Hefner, who was our administrative assistant, that helped get me through. Nick Joes, who went to all the press conferences with me and kind of kept me coached up and all that. But I look back, Holly and I both look back, and I think I've helped a lot of kids and a lot of programs through the years. But probably the most rewarding season that I've ever gone through was, even though it was as tough as it was our year at Baylor.
Jim, I promise you one day I'm going to take you up on that Reynolds plantation. Last year, COVID blew that up. I would love to come visit with you just to say hi and not have to talk about anything else but just life. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you.
Smokey, appreciate you. Y'all be good.
Thank you. That's Jim Grobe, former Baylor head coach on SicEm365 Radio. There's all sorts of quotes that I got from some former people on staff about what he did. There was an explosion constantly. There was always something, either something that was in the media or something just within, and how he handled that without ego, without wait a minute, you heard what he said. It's no matter at times some of those coaches that didn't like him because he wasn't Coach Briles, how all of them in the end realized what he actually did for them that year.
You know why? Because it was never for 1 second about Jim Grobe.
Never.
Never
once.
1 second.
Not
He
once.
did he knew none of this is about me. This is not about my life. This is not about anything. This is what I can do to help. And he had a service-minded attitude, and that's why he'll never get enough credit for what I think was the hardest year many coaches will ever have to.
I know we got to take a couple of breaks before Craig and off the radar. The KD Cannon story. He was acting up. He was out of control when it comes to his, his demeanor, his personality, whatever. And they decided it was time that they had to show him something. Maybe it was too late. So they're about to go play Iowa State, and Grobe and Phil Bennett had talked about this. Bennett walked into an offensive coaches meeting. I'm sure we know who they were, and said he's not making the trip, and if any of you don't like the decision, find a better attitude. And then Grobe walked in, made the decision, or mentioned it. He didn't play. They won 45-42, ran for Shock Linwood went crazy. So that's an interesting behind-the-scenes story. Coming up next, a note or two on sports today, and then Craig's off the radar, SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they've got a lot of great deals going on now at Richard Carr, and make sure to take advantage of them right away. They've got thousands in dollars of savings that can be yours on both new and pre-owned vehicles during the summer savings event. And travel is back, so now's the best time to go and see if you can't find yourself a new or used vehicle. Get back on the road with the space, safety, and luxury of a Buick, for example. Richard Carr has Buick SUVs all priced to move. You get 16% off a new 2021 Buick Encore for current Buick or GMC owners, 13% on Encore GXs, 9% on midsize Buick Envisions, and 13% on full-size Buick Enclaves. Richard Carr is also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. All pre-owned cars and trucks are priced to move during the summer savings event, with multiple cars and trucks priced under $230 a month for qualified buyers. And each pre-owned vehicle goes through a 172-point inspection before it hits the lot. With dozens of lenders, they say yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. So come by and take a test drive, or let them bring the test drive to you. It's the summer savings event going on all month at Richard Carr.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more. Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Well, there's Brooks Koepka and his buddy Bryson DeChambeau, huh?
Yeah, it's too bad they're not going to play together. I would have loved to see a sideshow at one of the majors. I'm glad. I mean, it'd be ridiculous. Golf is not a Logan Paul fight. It doesn't need to be a sideshow, and they don't need – it's the U.S. Open. They don't need the extra bump of Bryson and Brooks and whatever this silly thing is.
I don't know the protocol or the history of the pairings, but I'm not so sure that wasn't supposed to be a pairing, that they shouldn't have been a part. I know the U.S. amateur champion, the defending champion, and I don't know in this case, but yeah, that would have been a clown show. Yeah, that would have been hard to match.
And look, this thing might be over, a couple months from now, where no one cares anymore, and I think it's probably already kind of in its waning.
They might be paired together on the weekend if they're both, happens based on the scores if they get to that point.
But it doesn't need to be in the first 2 days.
So, all right, so that's the U.S. Open. Tomorrow, Rob Bolton, PGAtour.com. We'll have our picks for the U.S. Open. And if we're kind enough, we'll let Armstrong know he can mail in his top 15 picks. And if any of them are available after we screw his team, then we'll let him know.
If he's not available tomorrow at 3:45, then Jack's making his picks for him. So.
Jack's debut and the winner gets just not really much of
You know what we'll do? We're going to let Jack make one pick, we'll let Emma make a pick, and we'll let Bump make a pick.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Love the fact we have an incredible crew behind the scenes. We are not who you see or hear without what they do. And Armstrong out this week, Jack, Emma, and Hayden as well. When we come back, Craig Smoak and Off the Radar on SicEm365 Radio.
Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty. You want to talk about a great guy that does a great job at his career. That's Lance Donaldson. He's a local realtor with a unique perspective. The market is crazy right now. It's just crazy, and it's a seller's market. So if it's a seller's market, that's great if you're selling a house, but if you're buying a house, it can be tough to navigate. Well, you're going to need somebody like Lance in your corner who's going to help you through that. You want to find that dream house. You want to get a great deal for it. You want to get a deal on the house that you're selling. And if you're selling a house and buying a house, you want to make sure that a whole process is a nice circle for you so that you You make money on the deal. You don't lose money on the new house and all of that. You need someone who can work through all those details. That's Lance Donaldson. Give him a call, 254-214-3713. That's 254-214-3713 or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Here's for qualified buyer with $4,000 down to 2.9% TTNL extra. See dealer for details.
Travel is back during the summer savings event at Richard Carr. Explore America in the space and safety of an SUV or truck from Richard Carr. Savings like a 2016 Buick Encore for $148 a month, a 2017 GMC Sierra for only $318 a month, or a 2016 GMC Acadia for only $228 a month. At Richard Carr, 100% credit approval is always the goal. Log on or get here now and save at the summer savings event at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
All right, welcome back in. Craig Smoak, David Smoak, Paul Catalina, Off the Radar, taking a look at some stories that are outside our normal purview, normal things that we talk about. And I was surprised we didn't get to this yesterday, and I don't know that we would have gotten to it today if not for mentioning it here, which is kind of the point in some ways of the segment. Did y'all read that Mavs article?
Oh, yeah. I tried to get the author, I couldn't get, or the writer, I couldn't get him.
Yeah, The Athletic with a pretty explosive article yesterday, and I know that Tim Cato was making the radio rounds. He and Sam Amick paired up to write the lengthy article on the Mavericks behind-the-scenes happenings, and Luka Doncic is getting ready to sign a Supermax extension. We know that is going to happen, but the gist of the article is that there is a guy who is behind the scenes by the name of Haralabos Voulgaris. He is the Mavs Director of Quantitative Research and Development, and apparently he has become the most influential voice in the front office since his hiring in 2018. This is a guy that was a former big-money gambler, like big-money sports gambler, and apparently, like one of the first quotes in the article is Mark Cuban's the most powerful guy in the organization. The second most powerful is whoever he's listening to. And this guy is apparently somebody that Mark Cuban is listening to. There's all sorts of things in this article about, him setting lineups for games, him having a bad relationship with Luka Doncic, including a sideline incident where he was making a motion as though to try to tell Luka to do something. Luka did not respond well to that. Luka, there's thoughts on this being bad enough, this guy's influence, that it could force Luka Doncic eventually out of Dallas because this guy is such bad news. But for whatever reason, Mark Cuban seems to like him and appreciate him. Mark Cuban responded to the article yesterday with just a 2-word answer, and he basically just said, it's bull S. And that's all he said about it. But I heard a Cato interview, Tim Cato, later on, and he doesn't sound like a guy who's just making up stuff. So this is a bizarre story, that there's this just random guy behind the scenes who used to be a big money gambler, and he's having influential decision-making, or he's making influential decisions in some cases. So it's a very interesting article if you haven't read it. It's pretty in-depth, so I can't really paraphrase it too well. But basically, there's a dude behind the scenes that a lot of Mavs fans now know about and are worried about, and it could have an effect on Luka Doncic and whether or not he's the next Dirk, or he's a guy that's gone after his next contract in Dallas.
Yeah, he's going to sign the Supermax when it comes around, because he'd be foolish not to. But the bottom line is this sounds a lot to me like Jack Easterby in Houston, in that maybe this guy knows a little bit more about basketball than Jack Easterby knows about football, but it's having the same effect. And the Texans' first response about Jack Easterby was, this is not a problem, but if it wasn't, then why are people talking about it?
Yeah.
So... most of the time, while these things can be maybe a little overblown by a column or an article like this, if they weren't an issue, nobody would say anything about it.
Okay, here's the deal. What's the guy, Tim Cato?
Yeah. It was Tim Cato and Sam Amick.
Yeah, he didn't just wake up one day and go, I want to piss off Mark Cuban.
He covers the Mavericks as well as anybody.
Exactly. It's not like he want to do, it's this, and I don't think this is just, I think somebody saw a problem, and they went to him with it. He did the story. It's explosive. And then for Mark Cuban to say it's BS, maybe he's just trying to protect his own you-know-what.
Yeah, it does mention in the article that the Mavs don't plan on replacing Rick Carlisle, and this guy's contract, Haralabos Voulgaris, apparently runs out this summer. So with this article coming out, it'll be interesting to see if they retain him, and then that would really make you go, okay, why is this dude so important? Why is he being allowed to make such decisions and not Rick Carlisle or Mark Cuban or whoever else? And why is Luka annoyed? Because that's all you really need to be worried about is Luka Doncic's happiness.
Well, if his contract's not renewed, does that validate the article?
I don't know.
Or is that just timing?
But if it's true that Luka has a problem with him and his contract is up, again, these guys, they're... That's why I don't understand with the Texans and Jack Easterby.
Sounds like an analytical guy, right?
But it's kind of like the Texans and Jack Easterby. Look, when Deshaun Watson had a problem, and this is the guy's the chaplain, go get another chaplain.
Yeah, his official title when he came on in 2018 was analytics. It was an advisory role in the analytics department, but he, like I said, they were saying that he was helping set lineups in certain games and things like that.
It's not the 93 Bulls.
Why would Rick Carlisle
let him go.
allow that to happen?
Well, that's what's so confusing about this whole thing is is that true? Was he actually was this in the preseason that he was doing that, or was this something that was actually commonplace? And if so, yeah, why would Rick Carlisle allow that? Why does this guy seemingly have influence to begin with?
Wouldn't you think Carlisle would just say, "Screw you, I'm leaving" on that? I know he's making. Good money.
That's what's so bizarre about it is does he trust this guy too? I guess that's the thing is nobody can quite figure out. All of a sudden, he's a well-known name. Not easy to say, but that is something that ruffled quite a few feathers, as you can imagine, in the Dallas-Fort Worth market yesterday, in talking about the future of Luka Doncic and just where this Mavs franchise is headed. So it's actually not that lengthy of an article. If you have an Athletic subscription, you can check it out. It's scratch your head stuff, though, for sure, and will be interesting to track moving forward. The NBA playoffs roll along. I'll get to the game tonight, but apparently the league is discussing a rule change, and this could be known as the James Harden rule, so that players cannot use unnatural motions on jump shots in order to draw fouls. The competition committee is discussing a rule that would prevent players from using unnatural motions on jump shots to drop fouls. Adrian Wojnarowski said the league is looking to prevent players like James Harden, mentioned again, and Trae Young from leaning into foul calls, which they do all of the time. It would go into effect during the offseason and has to be recommended to the Board of Governors and then voted upon, and they will talk to GMs about the changes according to Wojnarowski. But yeah, basically James Harden is the poster child for this potential rule change. And I mean, do you guys notice it enough to see it as an issue? I mean, I certainly see guys definitely leaning in and drawing fouls on a regular basis, and I would be more than happy to clean up some of the free throw line, or to clean up some of the free throw shots that we see in today's game.
I think the NBA game is getting closer and closer to Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey with they're getting to be soccer floppers.
Yeah, that's been the case for well over a decade, though. That's been going on for a long time now. And, yeah, it was soccer influenced, but they just picked up on it, and, yeah, it's flopping all over the place. Not to the extent of soccer, though. Soccer's like you think a dude just stepped on a landmine after getting, scratched on the elbow. But, yeah, they're at least going to try to cut down on some of the unnecessary fouls, so that is something to keep track of in the NBA.
It just made me realize this, and this is not to be flippant. But when the player went down this weekend, how many people thought perhaps he was faking?
Oh, I'm sure some may have.
Because of the sock.
And if you weren't watching it when he fell and you just see him on the ground, you probably would just figure he's flopping after a close call or something. Because you do see it often enough that if you weren't paying close attention, I could see how that would cross your mind. Alex Rodriguez, he might be one of the co-owners of the Minnesota Timberwolves here pretty soon. But he said they will keep the team in Minnesota. I guess there's questions about whether or not they would decide to pick up and move. Seattle's still wanting a basketball team. There's a whole keep the Wolves in Minnesota thing going on. So A-Rod, I guess, has seized some of those rumors and said that if, in fact, he does get the ownership, they will not sell the franchise, and they will keep it in Minneapolis. Although I am very curious to see Minneapolis over the next few years, with all that's going on up there politically and just the climate there. It doesn't seem like it's really a thriving town at the moment. And I am wondering if, kind of like we've seen with Oakland, certain cities, the older we get, certain cities just aren't the cities that they used to be. And I don't know if that'll be the case with Minneapolis. I sure hope not. But they are going to keep the T-Wolves there, no matter if A-Rod is the owner or not.
The current owner, or who's about to be the former owner, that was a sticking point for him. On a couple of times when they had people who wanted to buy the team, and he backed away because they couldn't trust them not moving the team.
I think there's a big push for. I mean, there's going to be an NBA team again in Seattle eventually,
yes. And that's the basic one they're pointing at.
Yeah, and so I think that if you're really passionate about making sure the team that you used to own stays where it is, then that needs to be a stipulation, because there will be a group that wants to move a team to Seattle because plenty of people want to bring back the Sonics. And
Yep. So apparently, A-Rod kind of had to do this because in the actual language, there's nothing preventing them from moving the team to Seattle. Yeah. So I think it's kind of a preliminary move on his part, like, hey, no, don't worry about it. We're going to stay here, but there's at least some chatter about it. So that may be another thing to keep an eye on with the future.
Art Modell used to say, exactly. So you can't.
Xavier Howard has not been attending, or he was not at mandatory minicamp today, and they don't expect him to be down there in Miami. According to ESPN, he signed a 5-year contract back in 2019. Why do you think he's not at camp?
He wants a new contract.
He wants a renegotiation of the deal he signed less than 2 years ago. Brian Flores, head coach, who is a minority candidate, despite what Clarence Hill tried to say one time in attempting to get some Twitter clout. Brian Flores said it's pretty clear this is a contract situation, which we talked about internally. X is a little bit of a unique situation. He was extended, and now we're talking about a potential renegotiation after 1 year. Those turn into longer conversations. We understand that. We obviously had a lot of talks and combos about that, and blah, blah, blah. We'll continue to have those. He just turned 28, or will turn 28, upcoming in the month of August, or month of July, I do believe. So, he was the highest paid corner in the league for like 2 weeks or something crazy like that, and then he wasn't, and I guess now he wants to be again.
He's not even the highest paid cornerback on his team anymore.
No, he's not.
With Byron Jones?
With Byron Jones. Yeah. So, also, I'll start the countdown now. Like, I say that if he misses mini camp and then maybe the first year of training camp, how long before somebody writes an article with possible trade destinations for Xavier Howard, #1 Dallas Cowboys?
Oh, you just started it. Well, I'll ask David Helman about that coming up.
It's not going to happen.
No.
Not going to happen. But that's going to be an article that gets written. And then here's what's going to happen. Because the Cowboys' name is invoked, Xavier Howard, who would have gotten what he wanted anyway, will get what he wants about 3 weeks earlier.
Yeah, and he wants to come home. We'll hear that 20 million times. He grew up in Texas and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, basically. But now there's a bunch of guys who are making more money than him. Marlon Humphrey of the Ravens, Tre'Davious White of the Bills,
Ramsey.
Darius Slay of the Eagles, Jalen Ramsey of the Rams, and Byron Jones, as you mentioned. So he's not only not the highest paid corner and was only that for like less than a year, but he's like the 6th highest paid cornerback now at this point. So something to keep track of there with good old Xavier Howard, who's had a great career. I mean, as far as Baylor guys in the NFL go, he's probably been the best one since who?
Name someone Baylor football.
Singletary?
Santana Dotson was a good player for a while. So
that's been better in a career for sustained it. Because a lot of them had 2 or 3 year runs, and that's about it. Maybe still in the league, but not long.
I would say if you went back, it would be Howard, Dotson, Singletary. Like in that.
Man, that's a
like
big
if you went
gap.
backwards, yeah.
That's a huge gap.
But think about the gap of 16 years where they weren't putting players in the NFL.
No, I know. That's a big gap, too. That says
Yep. So
and how many of them were expected to be at least sustained? We just talked about Kendall Wright's in CFL. Corey Coleman still looking for an opportunity. Wow.
Yep. So Xavier Howard, look for some contract news over the next few weeks. Either he'll be staying put in Miami and playing on the deal he's under. He'll get renegotiated and play in Miami. But Flores did make another comment, too, about, like, we just did this a year ago. So I don't think that they're, like, totally open to just, blank checks for Xavier Howard when they are already spending, obviously, huge money at corner when they got 2 of, like, the top 6 highest paid guys in the league. Tonight, NBA, just one game. Bucks are at the Brooklyn Nets. That series is tied at 2, and we do know that the Nets are going to be without James Harden, and the Nets are also going to be without the third wheel. Kevin Durant's the only one available. James Harden and Kyrie Irving. Thanks. They're going to be out for tonight, so that series is tied at 2 apiece. It's in Brooklyn, starting at 7:30 on TNT, and the NHL keeps rolling along. They'll have a game tonight. Islanders up 1-0 in that series. Game 2 at Tampa Bay. That's tonight at 7. So those are just a few of the stories that are a bit off the radar.
All right. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that, Paul. In about an hour, we'll have his 5 at 5:55. What's the topic?
Top 5 submarine movies.
Well, I thought we only did entertainment.
It's a summertime. It's a summertime.
I need to get more mentally prepared for these.
Yeah. By the way, did you see?
Oh my God, I know one better be on there. Or I will punch you.
I bet you you'll be happy.
Have y'all paid attention to Suns and 4 guy? Did y'all see that fight video from the Suns game the other night?
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyways, I just was asking because Suns and 4 guy apparently was commenting on Devin Booker's Instagram. Now he's on, like, people have found his Instagram, so Suns and 4 guy has become like this cult hero. If you missed it, there was a fight in the stands at the last game, and some punk Nuggets fan tried to take a cheap shot from the high ground, mind you, and proceeded to get grabbed by his chain and beaten up while the dude not only held him there while punching him, but then backed off the other dude's buddy who tried to come close and then punched him again while his buddy had to watch before. I mean, it was an ass whooping. Like, and he was not the aggressor, but he was the more aggressive.
The picture's great when he's getting dragged off.
Yeah. But he's like beating this dude up, and then he's like, Suns and 4, and now it's become this whole thing. Suns and 4. So if you see Suns and 4, That's all stemming from this fight in the crowd, and this guy's been identified on Instagram now and was commenting on Devin Booker's post. So he's become like a playoff legend because of this butt kicking that he delivered to a Sour Nuggets fan.
All right. Sour Nuggets sounds like a good candy.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, no, not a candy. Would it be a candy?
Yeah, it'd be a candy.
When we come back, David Helman, DallasCowboys.com. Man, the interest a lot of you have picked up in a lot of the segments we've had. We've had them on for over a year. Hayden Bumpus has a lot to do with what we see from you Cowboys fans. You have David Helman next on SicEm365 Radio.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Helman of DallasCowboys.com.
Zerline, little squib, it's got to go 10 yards, and it's close. Zerline may have come through. Who's got it? The Cowboys have it. Do you believe that? Why didn't Atlanta pick it up? They let it go. They could have picked it up and ended the game, but Dallas has recovered, and they're not done yet.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. SicEm365 Radio. David Helman with us Tuesdays on SicEm365 from DallasCowboys.com. David, what positions, in your opinion, are the ones that are the most competitive as far as still looking for a starter on either side of the football?
The obvious one's got to be linebacker, just because there's so much talent and resource invested in that. I feel like we've talked about that plenty. Defensive tackle is another one. I think a lot of names to know, but not a lot of sure things. And then I would throw safety in as well. I think those are probably, I basically just named like 70% of the defense, but I think that's a testament to how few certainties there are on that side of the ball.
Why have I seen a bunch of articles about Tyler Biadasz? Did he perform that well in minicamp that he is on the up?
If you want my cynical sports writer answer, it's probably just, mainly because they made him available. And, they made him available, and he's a rising player. He was an exciting draft pick last year. He got a chance to play as a rookie. But honestly, that is a really interesting spot in the sense that, I wouldn't call Tyler Biadasz a proven commodity, but the Cowboys certainly don't seem to have put a lot in the way of competition at that roster spot. He's the only true center on the roster, and anybody that you would consider his competition, Connor McGovern, maybe Connor Williams, those guys have never played center in the NFL. They did it in college, but it's not something that they're used to doing in the NFL. So, people love to say like no job is handed out, but it doesn't look like Tyler Biadasz has a lot of competition for that job right now. So, I think people are probably zeroing in on him being the starting center for the season.
David, I think they're bearing the lead here. The Cowboys are going back to California officially. How do you feel about that?
Get me the hell out of here. That's how I feel about it. Look, we all love Texas, but oh my God, it's not even officially summer yet, and it's 95 and feels like 102 or whatever. So, it'll be, it's great for the team. They get to practice in 75-degree weather, and I get to watch them do it. So selfishly, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It seems like, things that we sometimes take for granted. We learned a lot of those things that we shouldn't in the last year or so. But, man, I can't wait. I don't know what the access is going to be like. Of course, you, a part of DallasCowboys.com, is going to be just fine in the end. We've asked you this before on the backup quarterback, and it's too much because too much is paid attention to that. But do you feel comfortable with where they are with the depth chart at quarterback behind Dak?
No, not really, to be honest with you. And that's kind of been my answer for a while is I don't feel great about it. I think Garrett Gilbert has made one NFL start, I believe, or it's very few if it's more than that. And, obviously the big one was last year. And then Ben DiNucci and throw in Cooper Rush. You're talking about three guys that have done next to nothing in the starting lineup in the NFL. So I don't feel comfortable, but the counter argument to that is, what are you going to do at this point? Nick Mullins just got signed by Philly. That was another of the very few names left that have significant starting experience. Obviously, Blake Bortles got signed by Green Bay a month or so ago. So I'm not going to go as far as to say I feel comfortable. I just don't think there's really a whole lot of better options. So unless somebody comes available as we go through training camp, maybe a veteran gets cut or something, I think you're kind of stuck with this.
Nashawn Wright's been kind of the story of the mini camps, and he was, kind of a surprise pick because a lot of people didn't have him rated very high. What do Cowboys fans need to know about him as they head into real camp in a month?
Good question. What do they need to know? I guess what I would say they need to know is, for a guy, a surprise pick, like you said, kind of came out of nowhere. He's basically 6'4". He's all arms and legs. The guy is unbelievably long, but I think he moves a lot more naturally and a lot more gracefully than you would probably expect of a guy with that size. Like, that's the problem when you're that big, is that it's hard to change direction in the open field. But he looked really smooth and really natural doing it at OTAs. Now, I'm already nervous. That we're penciling this guy into the starting lineup. He looked really impressive in a handful of unpadded practices. But again, he's lower on the depth chart. He's going against, he's not going against Dak in most of his reps. He's not going against the Michael Gallups and CeeDee Lambs of the world. Amari Cooper didn't even practice during the spring. So I'm already nervous, and it's not a slight on Nashawn Wright, but I'm already nervous that we're maybe putting too much on this guy. I am intrigued to see what he looks like, but I just, like I said, there's a lot of hype, and I think it's mainly because, he was such a surprise pick. I think people were really pleasantly surprised by how good he looked at OTAs, and that's great, but there's a lot more I want to see before I'm talking about him as a starter.
David, how does Ben McAdoo go about, being in his analyst kind of evaluator type role? Like, what were his responsibilities, or what kind of input does he provide in the role that they've given to him?
Typically, just as a general statement, like those analyst roles, typically guys that do projects like long-term projects, looking at your personnel groupings, like how do we respond when we're in this down and distance with this personnel? How do other teams respond to us? How can we self-scout, advanced scouting? Every team in the league has a handful of guys that work on the next 3 or 4 opponents, their tendencies, what they do. That's just a general statement. But I do love, like, whenever a team hires a guy into a role like this, they're always very vague about it, as if, there's some secret sauce that he's working on that's going to really give them a leg up. And maybe it is. It just seems kind of silly. And I feel like it's not just a Cowboy thing. I think every team in the league does that. They don't like to give away what those guys work on. So, like, very specifically, I have no idea what Ben McAdoo's doing. But I do know, he's got a 20-plus year relationship with Mike McCarthy. And, if that makes Mike McCarthy feel more comfortable scouting his own team and his future opponents, more power to him.
Do you expect Kelvin Joseph to start?
This is my hot take, and I'm ready. I feel like it's going to offend some people. No, I don't think he will, and that's not because he had COVID-19 during minicamp. He didn't practice as much as some other guys. It's not necessarily because of that. I'm not writing him off because of OTAs. But I just think people undervalue starting experience in the NFL, and Jordan Lewis has 4 years of starting experience. Anthony Brown has 5. They just drafted Trayvon Diggs, who, granted, did start as a rookie, but that's another year of experience that he has on Kelvin Joseph. And if I had to bet, Kelvin Joseph will probably start some games at some point during the season for one reason or another. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say if everybody's healthy, he won't be starting when they play Tampa. That's just a guess on my part.
David Helman with us, DallasCowboys.com on SicEm365 Radio. So let's look at some roster management. They have the draft. They've had their free agency. There's going to be guys that maybe there's a handful that come and go. There won't be anything that's like alarming or a major shakeup, any roster changes between now and camp, will there?
I don't think anything that you would qualify as major, but it's very normal to see teams add or subtract as you go through the summer. They already did it on a very minor scale with a couple of receivers, just bottom of the depth chart guys. And I said this on another radio interview recently. Again, like, I don't want to start a hype train of my own. I have nothing to back me up. But going back to the center thing, I just wonder. You look at spots on the roster where you're like, where can we add competition? Where can we add somebody? And again, when you think about the fact that Tyler Biadasz is the only true center that is employed by this team, I just think that's interesting. It doesn't jive with what they usually do, which is try to, create a competition at as many spots as possible. So it just makes me wonder, will a experienced center wind up on the roster by the time by the time we're ready to get on the plane to go to California? Again, that is not a report. I haven't heard anything. It's just me speculating. Maybe that wouldn't surprise me.
When you look at the NFC East, Washington won the division, and some can say with default, but they did have a defense that was dominating most of the year and found a way no matter how bad it was around them. When you look at New York, Philadelphia, Washington, and Dallas, have you dug in deep enough on who maybe helped themselves the most?
I try to keep my finger on the pulse of what everybody's doing. I think the Giants probably don't get enough credit for how much they've improved their roster just as a whole, in my opinion. I think, Their line's not amazing, but they've upgraded it from when it was terrible a few years ago. Obviously, their receiver core suddenly looks like a strength after being a weakness for so long. I mean, they already had Sterling Shepard, signed Kenny Galladay, drafted Arias Toney, and you obviously get Saquon Barkley back from an injury, and if he's fully healthy, he's one of the 3 or 4 best backs in the league. The thing for me, and that's kind of, it all boils down to quarterback play for me, though. Like, the Washington might have the best top to bottom roster in the division when you look at all their defensive talent. And again, they've upgraded their offense a lot as well. But which quarterback are you taking among these 4? Like, I can't think of a sane person on planet Earth that would take anybody above Dak Prescott. Ryan Fitzpatrick's probably going to play some great games for them. He's probably going to play a handful of stinkers too. Daniel Jones, completely do not trust his ball security or his ability to make things click. Haven't seen it yet. And Jalen Hurts is a little bit of an unknown, but having gotten a chance to watch him go against a bad Dallas team last year, I certainly wasn't impressed. So I know it's not as simple as just the quarterback, but when in doubt, I lean towards the quarterback, and I think Dallas far and away has the edge in that department.
As spectacular as CeeDee Lamb was at times, especially as a rookie, he did have some drops, and some of them in key moments. Was that just inexperience, or was that focus, or what was that in your opinion?
Yeah, that focus is probably fair. Just down focus. And you're right. Yeah, I mean, he had a handful of really bad miscues. Like the Pittsburgh game comes to mind. He had another one that I completely forgot about. I'm drawing a blank on which game it was, but dropped the touchdown pass that could have swung. I think maybe it was Baltimore. But yeah, no, he had some very big miscues. But I chalked that up to focus. I chalked that up to, like, I don't worry about him in the long term. Just based on some of the things that he was able to do last year, what we know of his college tape, the way he's transitioned it over into this offseason. He's doing all the same stuff he was doing last year. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. He had some disappointing moments last year, but until I'm not worried about it until he gives me more reason that I need to be. I think he's going to be just fine.
David, on the offensive line, Zach Martin was still good, but obviously he had his ups and downs and some injuries that kind of affected him. We know Lyle Collins and Tyron Smith basically zero because of how it all went down. Of those 3, is it automatic that Tyron Smith's the one that has to be the best of the bounce back years among those 3?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I don't know if Tyron has to be. Tyron just has to be available, I guess, because like if he's healthy and playing, I have no concerns about him whatsoever. I think he's going to be, among the 8 or 10 best left tackles in the league. For me, and honestly, the same thing goes for Zach Martin. I think if you're talking about the best, the absolute best, then I think it's probably Lyle Collins, because the other 2 have a chance to go to the Hall of Fame. And Lyle was playing really, really well before last year, but he's not quite on that level. He's never been named All-Pro. He's never been to a Pro Bowl. I think he's only started 2 seasons in the league at right tackle, which is kind of weird to think about because he's been in the NFL for so long, or at right tackle, excuse me. But if he elevates his game and plays the way that I think he can, I really think, before he got hurt last year, I would argue he might have been the most underrated player on this entire roster. And if he can regain that form to go ahead with 2 guys that we already know can play at the very top level of football, then I think now you have a chance where you're talking about this being one of the better lines in football again, which obviously hasn't been the case the last 2 or so years.
Your thoughts on, and last question, thanks for your time, David Helman, DallasCowboys.com, on Paul Mainieri and the fact that he's done at LSU. And they made a little run that not many people expected, but obviously you even told us last week that Tennessee was going to be a handful.
Yeah, I was proud of them. They were a flawed team, and it showed when they finally went up against, one of the best teams in the country. But I was proud that they made a run and put some postseason magic together for Paul. They won 4 straight games to get out of their regional. I can't, if you can't tell, I'm a very jaded and cynical person, and covering sports as closely as I do definitely doesn't help in a lot of cases. But Paul Mainieri, he's one of the really good people that I've ever had the pleasure to cover. Even I covered him when I was 19, just getting started, trying to do this as a career. And he used to take the time to, like, whether you were the newspaper beat writer that's been there for 30 years or the 19-year-old idiot who just got there, he took the time to be thoughtful and nice and courteous. And, he treated me the same way that he would treat somebody 3 times my age. And I thought that was always really cool. I learned a lot about just how to do this job from him, and also obviously a lot about baseball. So, wonderful guy. Wish him the best in retirement, and I'll be excited to see who LSU puts in his place.
Thank you very much. That's David Helman every Tuesday at 5 o'clock on SicEm365 Radio. Thank you for those who like the segment or listen to the segment or go back and listen to it in various ways that we have from YouTube on down. A break, Paul, between David and McClain. We'll have a segment in between that.
Yes.
Got a couple of notes. One on Charles Barkley, who felt like maybe he was somewhat muted. And a note on a text message I did receive from Jim Grobe about one more thing he wanted to pass along about his time at Baylor. Is SicEm365 Radio. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. They have been in that location for 32 years. They've been in their brand new store since 2014 when they expanded from where they were for nearly 20 years and got a brand new spot inside that same shopping center, but also included the 48-foot walk-in humidor. I was in the 48-foot walk-in humidor right before I went on my trip to Florida, and Cheyenne, Carol, and Ashley, they do an amazing job of understanding the cigar business, but also they have CBD products, coffee beans, I mentioned that they'll ground right there in front of you as well. But they have the elite brands of cigars. Absolutely. The Aging Room, Cuatro Nicaragua, a long-time #1 ranked cigar in the world. You want Ashton or Macanudo, you want Cohiba or Patron, yes, you can get that as well. I mean, this 48-foot walk-in humidor is packed with shelves upon shelves upon shelves of different type of cigar products. And the CBD products, Vita Dreams, if you struggle falling asleep at night, if you try them, I promise you, you'll love them. They'll help you just calm down and then fall asleep and wake up 5 or 6 hours or 7 hours later and have more sleep than you would ever have because you tossed and turned all the time. It's Vita Dreams, it's cigars, and also whatever you need, including torch lighters and the cutters and humidors at Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off of Valley Mills in Waco.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue.
It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's Tasty Oak Smoked Barbecue.
Next in line. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Builder.
Allen Samuels is celebrating Jeep Freedom Days with the 2021 Jeep Renegade Latitude with values up to $3,750 or 1.9% for 72 months, plus $500 bonus cash. See the 2021 Jeep Gladiator Overland with total values of $1,500 or 3.9 for 72 months. Allen Samuels, the award-winning customer service Central Texas dealer, located at 201 West Loop 340, online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
Come by, let's be friends.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
Charles Barkley, he's about as unfiltered as you get, right?
Yes.
Well, he said he felt restricted in what he could say. If he does, then what does this mean? This is a story that is a part of SI.com, the mustard, extra mustard. The popular Inside NBA host appeared in Washington, D.C.'s The Fan on Monday, and the Turner higher-ups put an end to his long-running bit where he makes fun of the women in San Antonio.
He doesn't mean it. I mean, it's like, it was he was doing that when he was a player.
If you crack a joke the wrong way, they're like, no, you crossed the line. I mean, they won't even let me talk about San Antonio anymore. When I'm always talking about big old women down in San Antonio, they're like, Charles, we got one lady who wrote an article. I'm like, first of all, I didn't call anybody personally fat in San Antonio. I was joking around. We've been having fun for 10, 15 years. We go to San Antonio. People are having a blast with it. The people in San Antonio had T-shirts made up. It's so
at the same time, though, Kevin Hart came out and he had an article that he's getting bashed for because he was talking about like how he can't really do his stand-up the same way anymore. And, well, that means you're just not very good at it. Like, if you have to resort to just the same old cliches and the same old stereotypical jokes, guess what? Improve your material. I mean, it's really that simple. But on this particular case, because I am one that believes that there is a lot of not cancel culture, because I think that's been kind of taken over now as a term that's widely overused and blown out of proportion. But there is a weird thing with speech nowadays, and I think we maybe are too far to one side rather than being more in the middle. Because the Kevin Hart stuff, yeah, dude, probably should just get new material and not make fun of race and everything like that. With the Charles Barkley thing, though, that particular example, that was funny, man. And I don't care, that one overweight woman in San Antonio had an issue with it and now they need to change it. I think that's ridiculous. That, and I doubt just one person caused this decision. But at some point, people do need to lighten up a little bit. So if you're the overweight person in San Antonio, or the underweight, or the disfigured, or the, whatever the thing that people can make fun of is, like with Charles and the way he does it, it's not personal in any way, shape, or form. Like, that's somebody that's taking it too personal. And there is a weird balance in like being sensitive to other people and being sensitive to other things, but also every once in a while just having a laugh at your own expense. And I think with Charles, that's lighthearted. That's not anything, mean-natured or anything. It's just him having fun. Big old women in San Antonio. Like, it's hilarious. And, I can see where some people wouldn't think that way, but I think that's also being way too serious about it.
Well, yeah, he's not Chrissy Teigen, who's specifically calling people and insulting them.
Right.
He's not doing that. He's just making
The day we cannot go to stand-up comedy, and Paul, I know that's what you do at times, But you can't go to watch a comedy show and laugh. We are in trouble.
Yeah, but the thing is it's you should still there shouldn't be any issue with that. There's plenty of things to laugh about that don't have to do with race or things like that. So the day that people stop laughing at comedy clubs, and we've just lost all humor to begin with. But I think there's this whole thing of like, there's this attack on comedy when really it's just, hey, there's a certain segment of jokes that aren't as cool as they were maybe 5-10 years ago. And look, Eddie Murphy has said that he did material back in the day that he couldn't do now. Dave Chappelle has said that he's had to change. Kevin Hart obviously is having an issue with changing. But those guys can do it. They're talented enough. It's just that, no, nobody's saying you can't make jokes or you can't offend people. It's just there's certain things that aren't as acceptable as they used to be.
There's a middle ground that people need to find, because I do think that there's kind of an assault on satire when somebody's trying to be satirical about something, and when you're being satirical, you are. I mean, if you look at the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I mean, they are taking the extreme, like they're jumping straight into what the stereotypical issue is and what the dumb people on the side of that issue are saying, and then people watch and go, how can they say that? Well, they're making fun of, like, they're trying to show you how dumb it is.
Yes.
And
like South Park.
And you can't, if you can't follow that they're trying to show you how dumb it is, then you just don't watch it. You're not ever going to get it.
And if you get offended by like South Park just pointing out the obvious, then you are one of the people who just gets way too offended by everything, and you need to cool out a little bit.
You wake up wanting to be offended and need to be offended. Otherwise, Jim Grobe sent me this text after the interview. This is such him. He goes, by the way, I forgot to mention that Coach Taft called me nearly every night to encourage me and help me in any way. Nobody more supportive than Coach in my time. Donnell was so good to Holly. Please let the fans know what Coach Taft and Donnell were to me and Holly. Come to see me, Grobe. That's so typical. After all of what he said for 25 minutes, he still felt like there was something else he wanted to add to the great Taft family.
I've always felt like that had to be the largest sigh of relief once that Cactus Bowl ended for any human being in history was, and I'm obviously that's hyperbole, but I mean, just when that season was over, I know how I felt when that season was over. I felt relieved. I was like, thank God this season from hell is finally over with, because if you had been in the press box at that Texas Tech game, as they were getting their heads kicked around, as they were in the midst of, their sixth straight losing game. And they were not only getting beat, like Texas Tech beat them down. Remember? Yep. Patrick Mahomes. And I just remember, and I remember sitting in the press box, and the wife of a current assistant coach, who's no longer an assistant coach, is popping off and making comments about the coaching staff's already got jobs lined up, and like it was just so bad. So I was never more relieved for a season to end than that one. Like even that was worse than 1-11, even though they won 5 more games,
or even 2-7.
Yeah, or COVID. Easily, that was a way worse season to be a part of, even though there was no health issues or anything like that, just because of the feeling in the air. And, thank God for Jim Grobe, just somebody being willing to kind of just pirate the ship or captain the ship as best as they could. And so, I think a lot of Baylor fans will, not all, but a lot of them will be grateful for forever.
When we come back, John McClain, Houston Chronicle, Hall of Fame writer, SicEm365 Radio.
The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations at home to serve you. Waco, Mart, Hillsboro, Woodway, and Hewitt, and China Spring.
Got a fly in your throat?
Yeah, I got something in my throat. I'm traumatized, guys. I'll never be the same after the fly. I'll never be the same. Well, what will always be the same is the customer service at the First National Bank of Central Texas. Look, I've said this before on the show. I lost my debit card. I didn't lose my debit card. We were in Chicago at the NFL draft, and I got a phone call from First National Bank of Central Texas saying, hey, did you buy a bunch of stuff in Walmart in West Texas today? I was like, no, I've not been there, and not West, Texas, like West, like, El Paso or something. And I said, no, I'm in Chicago, Illinois at the NFL draft right now. Boom, card shut off, done, charges put back in. When I got home, the next couple days later, in my mailbox was my new card. Or had I not needed to do that, I could have just walked right in to the bank and they'd have given me a new card, and it takes about 15 minutes, if that, to get a new card if you've got that, because of the Secure Lock Equip and all the great features they have. The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations right here at home.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
John McClain is a Hall of Fame writer, voter, does it all. 45 years for the Chronicle, covering the NFL, also on Sports Radio 610 in Houston, and a Baylor alum, Waco native, and all around just amazing at what he does. So, John, the Cowboys announced that a day with training camp was going to open up in Oxnard. Is there anyone that will not host the normal type, access to training camp this year that you know of?
Well, first of all,
Major League Baseball is relaxing its rules to allow the media back around the batting cage before games, in the dugouts, in the locker rooms. And the NFL is not letting us in the locker rooms. They're using COVID-19 as an excuse to keep the media out, which, of course, makes it more difficult to do our jobs. And if unvaccinated players can be in the locker room, why can't media that's been vaccinated 2 times? So football away from the locker room. And most training camps don't allow media in the locker rooms. I've only seen a couple that do. That's for regular season. But, the Cowboys last year had more crowds than anybody else. The governor allowed teams here to do that. The Texans cut way back, and it's probably good because they might not have sold those tickets anyway, as bad as they were. But I think that as long as your state allows you to do that, everybody wants to be as up to snuff as they can be, because even though the league made money last year, they didn't make as much money. So the franchises didn't take a dip, of course, but it looks to me from like watching baseball and going to a couple of Astros games. And I was in Nashville this past weekend co-hosting a cancer fundraiser with Jeff Fisher and Eddie George. And I didn't see anybody wearing masks anywhere, even though signs were on every door. If you've been vaccinated twice, you don't have to wear your mask. But if you hadn't, wear your mask. So that meant everybody in Nashville has been vaccinated twice, right? Yeah.
People are so honest, John. I mean, you gotta trust human beings. They're never.
It's
let you
almost
down.
like you were an outcast if you were wearing a mask up there, and people were wall to wall downtown partying. And so I don't, other than in Canada, and it's amazing that the Blue Jays are still having to play in Buffalo. I noticed the Montreal Canadiens are in this round, and they're letting them play on their home ice. And I'm guessing that would mean the Blue Jays would get to go back home this season. But Canada is still pretty much locked down.
John, do you expect to see any kind of final decision soon on the continuing negotiations about OTAs, which have the attitude towards them has changed, I thought, pretty rapidly this offseason from the players? Do you think that that's something that they'll change going forward, or that's just something that's like a kind of a post-COVID dust-up?
Well, the union wants the players to do as little as possible. And last offseason, because of COVID-19, no team was able to have an off-season program except virtually. Players worked out on their own. Then when training camp came, they had work at training camp, but no preseason games. And as the union pointed out, it was still a great season. Players were put in quarantine. Players missed time on COVID-19, but because they changed the rules on injured reserve, 16 practice squad members, including veterans, the NFL did a tremendous job to pull off the season without a real hitch. They had to move some games around, but did not have to extend the season like many of us thought they would. And so the union's saying, well, hey, let's do it again. Our guys don't need to report. One of the things the Texans did, and they've taken a lot of criticism about it here, after the first 4-week conditioning program for Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the off-season programs, those are the times you're on the field with coaches. The union encouraged players do not show up. So David Culley, the new Texans coach, met with some veterans and said, if you can get the players to come for this next month and we get accomplished what we want to, which was mostly mental, and we'll cancel a 3-day minicamp. Minicamp's just an extension of OTAs, patty cake football, as I call it. And so the veterans said, okay, they had great attendance for a month, and he canceled a minicamp last week. And a lot of people are saying, well, how can a team so bad not do the work? Well, they're not paying attention. Do you get a lot of players for 4 weeks and none for 3, or do you get some players for 4 weeks and all but Watson for 3 days? To me, it's a no-brainer. But the union's going to keep pushing. And a lot of people have said if the union pushed in the collective bargaining agreement negotiations like they have for less work, they would have come out way better than they did in that last CBA.
So, John, Xavier Howard is not showing up at minicamp because apparently he's wanting contract restructuring. He just signed the new deal that made him the highest paid corner at one time just 2 years ago, or less than actually 2 years ago, back in 2019. Now I think he's like the 6th or 7th highest paid cornerback. What are your thoughts on that situation? And just what are your thoughts in general when guys sign contracts and then less than 2 years later, there's already, some reworking that they're wanting to be done?
Well, first of all, players under contract get cut anytime by teams. So I want players to get everything they can get. But I don't blame a team like the Texans didn't want to give DeAndre Hopkins a $10 million a year raise with 3 years left on his contract. So they traded him in what looks like a bad deal. It has been so far. And Xavier Howard had 10 interceptions. This has been a long time since the cornerbacks had that many interceptions. And people look at that as he played great. Others would look at it and say, man, they're sure throwing at him a lot.
Right.
And so I'd be stunned if Miami's going to redo that deal again so quick. So he'll be fined $93,080 if they choose to fine him because he's under contract. You do not have to fine a player who doesn't show up. There were some people out there who said, well, the Texans canceled their mini camps so they didn't have to fine Deshaun Watson. And I'm like, learn the rules. Have a clue. You don't have to fine a guy if he doesn't show up. So Xavier Howard, I guess he's making a statement. I'd be stunned if Miami did that because if you do a contract with multiple years left, as soon as you do it, other agents will be calling and saying, hey, I want my guy redone too.
We were asking this question when you think about Baylor players and longevity or sustainability. Obviously, Mike Singletary, and there were more back in the day than there are now because we've seen some that have flamed out for whatever reasons. Santana Dotson had a really nice career. And now Xavier Howard's having a nice career. We tried to piece together the timelines. Who are we missing among like those who had sustainability and were also good in that stretch? I'm sure you would know.
You guys are missing the greatest snapper in NFL history.
I was thinking of him.
John Weeks of the Texans, who every time I say he's the greatest snapper in NFL history on the radio, they all go, Sic'em. Yeah, right. I said, the guy hasn't had a bad snap in 11 years, and when I bring that up to him, he keeps telling me I'm jinxing him. I said, you've been saying that for 5 years, and you haven't had a bad one yet. Maybe it keeps you on your toes. There have been a lot of players from Baylor over the last 10 years who get drafted like Corey Coleman high, and they bomb out.
Yep.
And but I think, and I don't know why, other than teams like keeping the big powerhouses. They like drafting their players, keeping their players. But to me, as we all know, the greatest offensive player history is RG3, and the greatest defense is Mike Singletary. And I think there should be a statue of Mike Singletary somewhere out there with RG3.
We just had Mike Singletary on yesterday.
Yeah, we had Mike on yesterday. He was unbelievable. I think he might have been as peace, mind, content as I've ever heard him, John. It's amazing how he seems to be right now. I think he's finally.
Well, Mike was always a laid-back guy off the field, and it was on the field that he was a raving maniac. But you thought most players, they have to make that transformation, and Mike was such a peaceful, God-fearing guy who sometimes you had to lean into him to hear him talk. But boy, when he started talking about football and all that, he was a different kind of guy, and one of the greatest players in history. And it's an honor. The day he got drafted, he and his family were at the old Shamrock Hotel here. The Oilers always took over the ballroom for fans to come in, had a separate room for the media. And because it was Singletary, I was out by his table because I kept telling the Oilers, you've got to draft this guy. They said he's too short. And when he got drafted in the second round, he was really disappointed. And Mike doesn't even remember this. And I said, well, at least you got to stay with the Bears. And I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. He didn't, and because the Bears were awful. And then, of course, the rest is Bears history. He played on one of the two greatest defenses in NFL history.
John, this is random, but I was curious your thoughts on the potential expanded playoff in college football with 12 teams.
I like it. The more the merrier, and because there's always so much controversy. I remember back when Baylor and TCU, I like it. People say it waters it down. No, that's what they say when they add more teams in the playoffs in pro sports, like all the purists in baseball. You'd have thought they'd been set on fire the way they complain about adding a wild card team. Now it's great for baseball, and so I think that would be fabulous.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Remember, Sic'em.
That's John McClain, Houston Chronicle, Hall of Fame writer, columnist, does an amazing job. The note, Paul, before I know we got your 5 at 5:55. You guys were talking about the grid, whatever, in Texas. This is from Shelby Webb. I guess she works for the Chronicle. The price per megawatt hour in Houston, this was at 2:40 p.m., shot up from $85 to $1,000 in a span of about 5 or 10 minutes. ERCOT's operating reserves are right at its 3,000 megawatt threshold, which triggers a control room advisory if it's not expected to improve in 30 minutes.
Get your stuff together, Greg Abbott. I mean, this is ridiculous. And, obviously it's not to the extent of the ice storm, but I'm seeing him talk about a lot of things, and this ain't one of them.
Hey,
he's talking about guns. He's talking about border walls being built through donations. I don't know, man. Like, those are important issues, I understand, but, just having regular AC seems like a much more important issue than your little wall or your little gunfight or whatever. And I'm not, because you have to make sure, I'm not saying anything on any of those topics. But the fact that I'm seeing more quotes from him on stuff that does not matter right at this moment when your entire state is in the middle of a heat wave and their ACs may or may not be working properly, I don't want to hear from you on anything but that. So shut up and get it done.
Every single politician is up for re-election in 2022 in the state of Texas. And if they say, but I did this, and but I did this, but I did this, ask them, how did we fix the power grid so we can have, basic, functionality for not only heat and air conditioning, but for business?
Yeah,
we run an electricity now, guys.
And I'm telling you this too, man. Like that was my first thought. My first thought last night was, how easy would it be to just wipe Texas off the map if you're China or any of these other countries that we're so worried about? I mean, we've got our own grid. You take us down in seconds. And then we're going to have to appeal to the government to come help us while all the other 49 are sitting in 72 because they're on the national grid. But we just got to be different. We got to be, we're Texas. Which, sometimes that's cool and sometimes that's really lame. And when it's 120 degrees outside, it's really lame.
No, it can be, especially if there is a delay in being able to. What would be worse, sitting in an apartment or a condo or a house where you have no heat, or you're in one with no air conditioning?
I would think no heat because it's as cold as it got, but. I mean, it's about the same thing depending on what your
I'm going to tell you right now, man, I'm not trying to be dramatic. That 2.5, 3 days that I had stayed in my apartment with that was like life-changingly awful. That was really, really bad. And it made me think differently about a lot of things. It really did.
There was a list that Scotty B sent out, Paul, you're 5 at 5:55, about players invited to the NBA Combine. Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell. I did not see Maceo Teague or Mark Vidal, but they were on the G League tryout. Again, that doesn't mean that kind of does and it doesn't, but those guys will all be given an opportunity, and we'll see. And they kind of knew that going in. I still think that Maceo Teague is such an underrated among those 3 guys or 4 guys, and I voted him to that Final Four all-tournament team. I can't believe he didn't make it, but we had to make sure that, the mustache, got on it when he got drilled in the championship game. Now, here we go. With the end of the show.
Mark Vidal is not invited to the G League. I didn't think so. Yeah. No, Mark.
Yeah. Okay.
Maceo was, but yeah.
Maceo Teague was, and Mark Vidal was not. So he's got some work to do.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Slapsticks Comedy Club. Lots of stuff's going on at Slapsticks. Talked to Kevin and Mike the other day. They've got a lot of cool plans going on. July 3rd is the goal right now for a soft opening weekend. Found out more at slapstickscomedy.com. All right, top 5 movies about submarines, and this came about because I was watching one of these movies the other day, and I thought, there's a lot of good movies about submarines, and Jack and I talked about it, and some of these Jack knows, and some of these Jack will not know. Number 5, Run Silent, Run Deep, starring Clark Gable. This is a really good one from 1958. It's about a submarine captain who just gets obsessed with, sinking this one boat. It just obsessed with it. It's really, really good. A little ahead of its time. I thought this one way back. So, Jack, if you want to see how things were when things were in black and white, watch this one. Although Jack's probably from the generation that doesn't watch black and white movies.
I'll tell you what, man, something I've been doing here lately, because I'm just so tired of this the noise out in the world and just the constant just flashing lights and bright colors and everything that we're just inundated with constantly. I'll throw it on some TCM, and I might not sit down and just really watch the movie, but I find it really relaxing compared to a lot of the stuff on TV nowadays. I just have an old black and white movie on there and seeing the Clark Gables and the Marilyn Monroes and people like that. I think it's great.
It's a good old one? Perry Mason. I know it's not a movie, but the murder mystery TV show pretty much.
Oh, nice. There you go. I'm impressed.
My dad was born in 57.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Raymond Burr. Nicely done. Number 4, The Abyss. This is the only science fiction one on the list, but it's a trippy movie. James Cameron directed it. Ed Harris. They get these aliens that are underwater. It's wild. Yeah. It's a wild-ass movie.
Yeah, it is. It's a good movie.
Is that the one with Jacqueline Bisset?
I believe, she's in that. Yeah, she's in that. All right, number 3, with future Texas Governor Matthew McConaughey.
Hey.
U-571. This is World War II. My favorite part of this movie is that John Bon Jovi's in it for 10 minutes, and he's taking a picture of Matthew McConaughey right when the sub gets blown up, and they have to jump in the German sub. And this is based on a true story about stealing the German code breakers and an American sub crew getting on a German sub and having to kind of steal it. It was really tons of drama. Harvey Keitel's in it. Can't beat Harvey Keitel. That's a good one. Have you seen this one, Smokey?
No.
You've not seen that one? You'd like it. It's up your alley.
I don't think I have.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Number 2, The Hunt for Red October.
That's
excellent.
Yes.
Here's the best. This movie is in my opinion, the best Jack Ryan thing that's ever been done. It was the first one, but Alec Baldwin, the best Jack Ryan, and there's been good Jack Ryans. But my favorite part of this movie is that Sean Connery is playing a Russian. In this movie, he's playing a Russian sub-commander. But at no point does he decide to do any other accent other than Sean Connery. So instead of doing a Russian accent, he's just I'm a Russian sub-commander.
Yeah.
That's it. This is the Red October. That's just it.
And it absolutely works.
Yeah, and it works. At no point did I not
thought
believe
of it that way. I thought it was. I thought he was very Russian.
But he's not. Sam Neill from Jurassic Park plays his second in command. He's doing a Russian accent. Most everybody else is doing a Russian accent. No one else. So Sean Connery's no, I'm Sean effing Connery, and I'm sticking with it.
And you're right.
Yeah.
I'm Sean Connery, and you're not.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. That's right. All right, number 1. I couldn't not put this one at number 1 because Smokey would have punched me in the face.
I would have on the air.
Yeah. Number 1, Crimson Tide. I don't know if this 2 hours and something of this movie.
Those two came out of really kind of close to together, did they not? These two movies?
Yeah. And Gene Hackman, Denzel Washington. This movie is tense, man. It is very tense. And they do a great job of zooming in on the faces and the beads of sweat on Viggo Mortensen's head or all those things that just
or whoever that is.
Yeah. Well, he's in the movie too.
That's Viggo Mortensen's
head. Just all those things that they did, and man, it's great.
That's those two. I don't know if they were released within 10 years of each other. I think
about 3.
Maybe 3. Those are two of my favorite movies. Those are in the top 5 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Crimson Tide is easy.
And that's a young Denzel, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it on the top 5, but Greyhound on Apple TV is pretty good. It's kind of more of a blockbuster, but it's pretty interesting. It's good stuff. But I wouldn't have had a top 5. That's a solid list.
There was another submarine movie I can't remember, military type maneuvers and stuff like that. I'll have to track that one down and let you know.
I did not put for anybody who wants to comment on this. I did not put Das Boot on it because it's 5 hours long. Who's got that kind of time?
Is that a series or a movie?
It's a movie from the 70s. I think the 70s or late 60s.
Yeah, that's way
4
too
hours,
much.
53 minutes.
That's way too high. All right, thanks to our guest, Tony Miles of Mart, Northwest Missouri State, headed into he's on the ballot of the College Football Hall of Fame at University High coach now. Jim Grobe, David Helman, John McClain as well. Thanks to Emma. Thank you, Hayden. Appreciate it, Jack. Thanks to our great sponsors every single day on the various media outlets we're on. Tomorrow, right back at it at 3 o'clock. Have a great night. David Smoak, SicEm365 Radio.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.